the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, just don't unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's new.
Hey, I just wanted to say hi to Amy and Leroy who came on. I didn't even say hello. We went right to business and wanted to say hi to you both. Hello.
Hey, Hogs Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Good evening. The show is brought to you now at www.com. And if you would www.jamba.ziba.doo-doo-da-da-dee. Tonight, thank you. Tonight's show is brought to you by Percival Flag Company. Sorry for speaking Korean and Japanese in a mixed martial art type move of language, but this is something you can't shop. It's wood that is made in America. Buy pscflags.com. Stop on by and get yourself American-made flags that are easier to say than they are to make. Folks, welcome to the show. Tonight we've got all four in the house. I hope that worked out today. It's easier to say than they are to make. Yeah, it means that making them's really hard. Yeah. See, it works. It's great. Speaking of hard, this morning, Olivia, how are you? Show your video, Liv.
What?
Whoa. Show the video, Liv. Not of us this morning, but your intro video.
Oh! I thought we were still talking about hardwood.
Let's just push the push the button. Olivia Spears in the house, folks. I realized that I had the volume up full, Liv. Liv?
Yeah.
All four on the screen, Liv.
Oh, shoot. That's me, isn't it?
That's you. Thanks, Liv. Is that better? Do I sound, talk in the phones? It should sound better, not be as loud this time.
Test. Yes.
Okay. Also in the house, Amy Robinson. Amy wearing her O's hat. That's not the Baltimore Orioles, right? Whatever. You're a Nationals fan, you traitor. That's because they're actually playing well. You come out and you're now an Orioles fan. What the hell's wrong
I am
with
a
you?
fan of both. I grew up near Baltimore, so I've always been a Baltimore fan. And then Jason's a Nationals fan, so I go with him to games.
You bat both ways. It's great.
I do. I do.
Wow. Amy Robinson.
And you're like, holy cannoli.
Oh, mother of
And then after that, we've got, come on, babe.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. It's Monday. It is Monday.
Yeah, that's really,
Monday.
yeah.
You
pretty
had the one
lethal.
job. Just the
I had
one.
one job to do. That's all you bugging me.
It was at this moment that Nathan knew. He fucked up.
That's right. Leroy Jenkins, folks. Leroy Jenkins. And welcome
How is
to the
everyone
show.
doing? It's good to see you guys.
Yes, it is. My name is Matthew Spare. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. It's good to have you here tonight. Thank you for
Oh, you. Sorry. I messed all of us up, so might as well just mess you up, too. It's Monday.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it is Monday. It's a busy week for me.
I've got one of those. Whatever. We've been playing Diablo for a week.
Yeah,
You've
but
done Nothing.
It's going to be a busy
have
week.
eaten out for 5 nights in a row. You haven't cleaned a damn thing. You just showered today.
Damn.
But now I've got a crap ton of stuff to do.
Yeah,
this
no,
week.
but hey, we're crushing in Diablo. We're ready to push 70.
Yeah, I got a lot to do. I got to plan a 10-year-old's birthday.
Yeah,
sleepover,
but we're
and
crushing at Diablo.
I've
so
got 10 hours of online training to do for the new
yeah,
job.
but we're crushing at Diablo. So
just,
it's
lots
like,
to do.
have you guys seen that Jim Rome skit where he's talking about softball guy? Have you guys heard softball guy?
No.
Oh, I'm playing softball. No, I'm playing softball guy right now. We're doing softball guy right now.
Okay.
You got to hear it. If you haven't heard this, this is fantastic. Now, let me give you the rundown. Jim Rome is a complete jackass, but he is incredibly funny. Softball guy is about the guy. This is 9 minutes out of the show, but we're going to do it.
We all know softball guy.
Yeah, Jim, hold on, be patient. He called into the show. The moment he heard he hasn't had any work lately, so he obviously reached out and said, "Hey, I want to tell you about softball guy. This is great. This is funny because this is the dad who basically is all jacked on roids, who rolls up his sleeves, who benches 350 a day so he can play on the softball team. This is the guy that spends tens of thousands of dollars a year on his league, but won't buy his wife a freaking new dress. He thinks that he would have made it if his coach didn't hate him. This is softball guy. We all know softball guy. Now, there's plenty of other guys. There's golf dork. There's tennis pro guy. This is softball guy. Enjoy it, folks. Jim Rome, enjoy it. Listen, laugh. Do whatever you got to do. This might just be a sharing episode because I have a 35-minute show that I did, and honestly, I think it's pretty damn good. We could sit here and talk about all these topics, or we could watch this thing. It's one of my old type of shows. I just literally just all
we
over.
could do what we talked about on Wednesday. The show we prepped for today. Talk about it Wednesday because we got to get up and watch the show we prepped as in the show.
What did we prep?
Today. The whole, never mind. Okay, just show the video. Never mind. I don't know what you're talking about.
Softball guy, folks. Here it is. Enjoy.
Softball guy. We all know softball guy. A lot of you are softball guy. Let me very quickly take you through softball guy. There are a couple of different variations of softball guy. I'm talking about the guys that are 35, 37, early 40s, late 20s. They're out there still hacking, and that's fine. All right, I'm not talking about everybody who plays softball. I'm talking about softball guy. Make the distinction. Some of my best friends very quickly take you through softball. I'm talking about softball guy, not softball player. It's mostly isolated to, and again, there are a few different forms. 3 come to mind. There's angry young guy, there's fat guy, and then there's stat dork. Most of this focuses on angry young guy. Now, you know angry young guy. Softball player knows softball guy, who typically is angry young guy. Angry young guy is the guy who's out there playing like it's Game 7 of the World Series. Every single game. And you know why he's out there playing like it's Game 7 of the World Series? Because he really believes that if his high school coach didn't hate him, he would be playing Game 7 of the World Series. Angry young guy is the guy who thinks that if his senior or if his coach in high school didn't hate him, he would be Derek Jeter. That the only reason Derek Jeter is because his high school coach didn't hate him. So angry young guys out there playing like it's Game 7, and the only reason it's not is because his coach hated him. Never mind that I'm sure the coach had a good reason to hate him. He's a hateful guy. Look at him. Look at the way he's playing softball. Because coaches always get rid of guys that ultimately could make it to the big leagues. I mean, how many high school coaches do you know that look at a guy and say, you know what, that guy's the best player in the history of this school, but I hate him. Let's cut him. That's a 5-tool kid. That's a first-round draft pick. That's the best kid ever to come through here. I hate him. And normally they like those guys. But angry young guy, not only is he the guy who really thinks that he would be in the big leagues if not for that, he's the guy who's out there with his $500 bat. He's got like the nicest gear. Not only the $500 bat, but he's in the on-deck circle with the donut, taking his hacks, trying to time the pitcher. All right, he's in there in the on-deck circle trying to time the pitcher because you want to take your hacks and try to time a guy who's throwing the ball about 18 miles an hour.
Right.
So then the other guys come back to the bench and he's like chatting him up like, yo, what's he got? What's he got? What's he got? He's got that 18-mile-an-hour blooper that he's throwing all of us. That's what he's got. Right. I can't really pick up the spin on that. What's he got? So angry young guy's out there with a $500 bat, trying to time the pitch from the on-deck circle, and he's chatting everybody up, asking his teammates what the guy's got. And, of course, he's got the full gear, the stirrups, everything. Eye black, wristbands, stirrups, metal spikes, $500 bat. He's got the whole thing working. Sunglasses at night. And this is the guy that always goes hard into second base to break up double plays in softball. This is the guy that's desperately trying to get his team an extra out whenever he can because he, quote, plays the game the right way. And he hates teammates that don't. He hates it when guys around him don't play the game the right way. Never mind the shortstop from the other team who's 37, who's out there like everybody else to have a few pops, is now at the emergency room because this guy had to play the game the right way with a fractured orbital bone. This is the guy, angry young guy, who's arguing with the umpire, who wants to fight the other team if he loses, who uses profanity in front of kids, who's constantly on his teammates, work the count. We're down by 1 run late. Be patient. Don't be afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Take a strike. Work the count. This is the same guy who thinks that a walk is as good as a base hit. But it's not because it's softball. You know the guy. Look, if you see more than 2 pitches in softball, you're out there for all the wrong reasons. This is the guy that when he's playing on a co-ed team, yells at a female teammate for missing the cutoff man. This is a guy who yells at his teammates for not taking strikes. This is the guy who goes to the cage before the game. Not the bar to get a few pops, but goes to the cage before the game to work on a swing. And then after the game, if he didn't get his 5 hits, he's back in the cage. This is the guy that's always yelling at the scorekeeper. You know, this is the guy who plays on more than one team and is going up and down the bench going, damn, same thing happened Tuesday night on my other team. Of course, the guy doesn't play on Sundays because he needs to rest up for the other 6 games he plays. But he's got a routine that he sticks to on his off day. Look, and don't send me your email, softball guy, because I know how this goes. If you're sending me an email right now to say that I'm a jackass and you're demanding to know what I do on the weekend, then you're that guy. If you think that what I just did is anything other than hilarious, you are angry young guy. Angry young softball guy. If you come home after a tough loss,
dude, someone
and you tell
Carl.
either your
I'm
wife
done with him.
or your
Just
girlfriend
him,
to shut up,
thank you.
Then you're that guy too. Hi, honey, how was the game? You know what? Will you just shut up? Excuse me? What'd you just say? I said we lost a 1-run game to the Gladiators, that we were an out away from winning. Would you shut up? And that's only angry young guy I just covered. That's not even all a softball guy. Website,
right,
which he updates during the game from his trio. That guy's almost as bad as angry young guy, but not quite. If your bat costs more than $250, you're that guy. If you won't let anybody else on the team use your bat, you're that guy.
Right.
If your monthly grocery allowance is $200, but you've got more than $5,000 in softball gear, you're that guy.
Yep.
If you hate me in this show now because of this rant, you're that guy. The family of 6 is eating top ramen again tonight.
Oh,
but did you see this new TPX bat that I picked up? Got it online. It's a -10, and it was only $750. Honey, the kids are really tired of top ramen. Yeah, well, tell them to put some of that artificial sweetener on it that it comes with and come out to the yard and see me swing my new bat. Yeah, but he doesn't have any shoes. He's outgrown them. They've got holes in the soles. Yeah, well, he can touch my bat. I'm hitting 700. What more do you people want? What the hell is wrong with this family? Dad's hitting 700. What do you want? Prime rib every night? Get in the car. Get there early. Daddy's mashing.
All right. So the reason why we said that is because no matter what happens, Olivia, whether you take a shower, whether you go shopping, whatever, we have Diablo. And the kids will cope. They'll learn. You just show them our level 70 characters and our cool weapons and horses. And what are they going to say? It's like, dude.
Can I share something with you?
You sure can. Go for it.
Okay. Check your text. I grew up in a heavy baseball family, right?
I figured you would,
I lived in
this.
I did, and I lived in Cleveland for a long time, and 11 times Golden Globe winner
Holy crap!
Omar Vizquel. Let me know if you see it, folks.
My God, you look just like him. I was just gonna say, dude.
Wow.
That's incredible. I'm like, that's Leroy. You could have pulled that off. You could be like, dude, baseball runs deep in my family.
At first glance,
yeah.
I totally thought it was you with hair.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was you there.
Oh, I played for the Indians. You guys don't understand. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's
First
11 times Golden Globe.
We don't call
Golden
them
Gloves
Indians.
winner.
We call them indigenous people.
It's the Guardians
Omar
now.
Vizquel,
Why are you being so
he was
racist?
awesome.
Stop being a freaking Northern Hemispherist. Seriously.
Northern Hemisphere.
What's wrong with you? Anyway, Jim Rome, a softball guy. It's. I don't care if you don't like sports. I like sports, and that's all that matters. So this is my show. I'll sit. If you
I
really,
like sports.
if you piss me off, I will literally tell you every single team from 1995 till today who've played for the Colorado Avalanche, and I will just ruin this entire show.
What did he think I was going to do? Save him? Does he think that you just I watch sports because I'm married
I just
to you?
got sick of Carl, dude. The guy just freaking just yap. I can't stand it, dude. Just get off the show. You know what? I don't. You know, and then he's like, "Oh, dude, you and I are cut from the same cloth." You know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't throw a temper tantrum because all of a sudden I talk about sports. Jim Rome is literally talking about someone like you. You are softball guy, Carl. You're softball guy. You're stat dork, and and I'm sorry that you don't like the topic. I'm sorry that I talk about politics 24 hours, 7 days a week. That I literally eat, breathe, sleep, and shit politics. And the one time I decide to talk a little bit about sports, you decide to get into a koozie. Dude, are you a guy? I thought guys like sports. Seriously, come on now.
Apparently not.
Okay, Carl's gone. Amy said it right. He's being a pusillanimous, which is the very long slang term for vagina. Okay? All right. Softball guy's gone. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Glad we got to do Don't Unfriend Me / Jim Rome softball guy. It's hilarious. You don't have to find it funny, but if you play sports or watch sports, you know those guys. And it's ridiculous. It's
we all know that there are those leagues in the neighborhood, whether or not it's a pickup or something that you found at work, where there's the one or two players that just take things just a little too seriously. Yeah, we all know people like that.
Yeah, dude. It's the reason I don't play pickup hockey. And I've been invited. Oh, come over and play pickup hockey. No, because I don't really want you guys to be pretending that you're in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup and somehow you didn't make it. And all of a sudden you throw a check that puts me in a hospital and breaks my fusion. No, I'm good.
While they stand over you going, woo. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, that would. I'd like to see someone try to run me at 6'4", 225, but we'll see. Anyway, we got a good show tonight. It's been a last minute show. So here's the dilemma. I want to talk about this. I've got a show planned out, and we've got some good stuff. But I did do a segment, but it's a little bit longer. Now, that I don't know if we want to watch it now, but it's uncut. It's pretty raw. It's literally about, we've been flirting with this thing about the LGBTQ movement and Christianity and how they're both on the side of the yin and yang. Is that one was predominant 80s, well, pretty much since 1900s all the way up. Oh, screw that. We can go back to the 1800s. And modern day Christian Judeo ethics inside the United States, and really how it kind of guided our culture, and then how there was this movement with the LGBTQ movement in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that really was shunned and pushed back. And then it was like, well, all we want is marriage and all we want is equality. And it's like, okay, well, no. And then, after a couple of years, like, all right, fine, we'll stop, tying you to fence posts and hate crimes, but you're not getting married on our watch. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, you can be together and you can civilly join. And then eventually, like all things, we progressed and decided to pull our heads out of our asses and allow everyone to pursue the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But under one condition, which is don't cross that proverbial line. And that line being is stay away from our children, keep it out of our house. We don't want to be preached to. We don't want to see it. And then all of a sudden it's crossed that line. And now that demarcation line, it's now done a 180. And it's now this group who needs to take responsibility of themselves to, just like Christians and Christian leaders and moral leaders of America had to stand up and say, wait a second, we're not built this way. We need to stop this stuff and take back, being Christians, and maybe not like the sin, but don't hate the sinner. And nobody's doing that. So that's the whole thing. It's an interesting video. Maybe what I do is I can play a little segment. Let me know what you think, or we can just do the regular. But want to definitely, we haven't done it in a while, would like to play it. Let's do this. Let's go over a couple things that we wanted to go over in the show. Amy and Leroy have not been prepped, so this should be fun. We literally did this last minute, so I apologize.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Listen, Gomer, nobody likes you, Army people.
I know.
Trump failing in the polls. I'm just going to run right over Leroy. Trump is failing in the polls, and I mean flailing and failing. Virginia school cover-up. I've covered this many times with the Loudoun County School Board and Fairfax school districts, but there is something even larger happening here, wasting our tax dollars. LGBTQ versus religion. It's here. It's queer. Do we need to get used to it? Question mark. McCarthy, gloves are off, and he's going after Joe Biden. So we've got quite a bit here. Livy also has an article, a video about a legislator who did what, Liv?
She is comparing Muslim children to white supremacists because they stood up for their rights to opt out of reading certain books in school at a school board meeting.
So I'm not trying to be a pain, but they're not a musical group from the 70s. It's not the Supremists. It's the Supremists. Ladies and gentlemen, the white supremast. Dun, 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 dun,
It's
dun,
Monday.
dun, dun.
Okay, I'm leaving.
No
goodbye.
way.
Did you just say,
No.
wait a second, did you just say it's Monday, I'm leaving KKK? That's what you just, yes, you did. I'm going to play it back. You just said it's Monday, I'm leaving KKK.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Everyone tell me I'm wrong. Isn't that what she just said?
No.
Is there?
You suck, you jackass.
Jeez. I think there's something what do I need to know? I think they're bringing out this side of you that I've never seen before. Whatever. I'm just saying, you said it. All right. Don't Unfriend Me Show is brought to you tonight by all of us. And we're going to go ahead and do it. The first thing I want to talk about is this Loudoun County public school thing. You guys remember I told you a little bit about LCPS and Fairfax County, where they did this whole rigmarole when it came to Matt Walsh came out here. They started focusing on the 1619 project and, transgendered bathrooms and, talking about gender equality and also gender dysphoria in the classrooms and they all denied it. They're like, no. And then like Ruth Marks, or whatever the hell her name is, she was fired. And then they went ahead and they started doing legal investigatory bodies into LCPS for a cover-up because a young girl was raped by a transgender male who went into the bathroom. They swept it under the rug, transferred him out of the school, and then he went and raped another girl. Then her father was at an LCPS school board meeting where they muzzled him, and then they beat the living shit out of him. All the cops did. Yeah, so this is pretty serious. This notice went out just a few days ago. We got it. Olivia got it, and I got it on June 12th. And, much to your chagrin, I'm sure, this thing says, Dear FCPS family in Fairfax. Now, Fairfax is the county over from us. And there's a video by Dr. Michelle C. Reed, who just looks like...
Okay.
You know who she looks like. You can just tell. Like, you look up liberal, uptight, granola, patchouli smelling sandal, Birkenstock wearing hippie. It's her. It's her picture. And I'm sorry to say, this woman has no retention value whatsoever. But the second portion of this is that there were a bunch of scholarships, and Amy, get on this with me. There were a bunch of scholarships and incentive programs for students who applied, who excelled in their school academia and local community. And this message went out to kids, except that the message did not go out to white kids. And the message did not go out to Christian kids. And the message did not go out to Trump supporter kids, who were all, these lists were kind of established by them stalking Facebook group and spying on Facebook groups that were from the local community and identifying Christian conservatives and putting them on blacklists, putting them on no contact lists and shunning their children. Some real bad shit. Of course, all of this, of course, is not true. How could it be? So there was an investigatory body that went ahead and looked into this. And of course, this lady wants to go ahead and say, well, this is what we found. This is the finding of the case. Now, the interesting thing is that if you look here on the YouTube attachment, first of all, you go to the email link that she sent out, the one I just showed you, and the video has been removed and taken down. You then actually find it on a back channel, and comments are turned off. It says that right here. So you try to download it for YouTube, and it's got a restrictive download content. So there's programs that allow me to download stuff from YouTube and use it. You can't. So just to get this thing was pretty difficult. And I want to watch it with you. I want to get your thoughts. You kind of had a chance to hear it, but I wanted you to give me your account of this real quick once I get this uploaded. Hold on. It's uploading right now. It'll just take a second. We were in a rush. All right, here it is.
Okay, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead if you have a question.
No, I was just going to ask, how did you guys get this email from Fairfax? Because I didn't get it.
This was sent to me. So I have registered. So they have legally to open up to surrounding counties their mail list. And as soon as I heard all the stuff that was going on with LCPS and Ashburn and everything else, I went and signed up for all these community lists to receive this information. So you can sign up for it, and you go to the Fairfax School District, and under the Freedom of Information Act, because you're a Virginia resident, you can get that information. So anything they send out, you can get a copy of.
Gotcha.
I'll send it to you. Here's the video.
Good afternoon. I would like to take a few moments and share with you why
I just want to point out that she's lying. It's not the afternoon, it's the evening. So she's immediately a liar. And that just sets the whole tone for the entire video. Okay, here's the
an important legal action today. As I hope it goes without saying, staff and student safety remain a top priority. The Virginia Attorney General is continuing to investigate the issue of notifications to FCPS high school students regarding national merit commendations. As we announced several months ago last winter, we retained a law firm to conduct an independent investigation of that issue and to prepare a privileged report of their findings. We released a high-level summary of key fact findings from that report.
A high-level summary, which basically means cherry-picked all the stats we could find and go ahead and present them to you in a way that was unceremoniously positive towards our plight, right? I mean, because that's what she's saying. Because listen here, it's like we did the work for you. We were being investigated, so we decided to go ahead and tell you what they found. Okay, here it is.
Whenever I hear that,
yeah.
Whenever I hear that someone has a high level summary, this is just how I interpret things, right? It's always like a bluff statement. So the bottom line up front, but with bias. That's how I hear it every time.
Of course. Right. It's just like when somebody says, listen, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you why dog fighting is really important. It's just like, all right, here we go.
Right.
As noted in the summary, the independent investigation found no evidence of inequity or bias and no evidence that FCPS deliberately withheld any student notifications. However, even before
deliberately, right? So now it's intent. The Hillary Clinton defense, the one she's using, saying, oh, no, this Trump, 33,000 emails, confidential, and the 33,000 that we bleach bit and burned and threw away. How many of those were secret? Oh, it doesn't matter. They don't have those. Why don't they have those? Well, because you got an order to compel, and you got a cease and desist letter and a subpoena, which means you're supposed to go ahead and collect and stay all information and turn it over to the proper authorities, yet you smashed 16 BlackBerries and burned it all. Oh, but there was no intent. What do you mean? But she didn't mean to. What? She didn't mean to break the law. She broke a court order that said she couldn't destroy stuff. Trump at least didn't destroy stuff. He just didn't give it back. Oh, no, it doesn't compare. Why? Well, because they've already investigated and she wasn't charged. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't. This is the problem with people. So this lady's like, hey, they found that we did this, but we didn't do it on purpose. So therefore, This is the result.
The law firm investigation was completed. We learned of inconsistencies in how the notification process was managed at our individual high schools. To address this, we developed and have now put in place a regulation standardizing the notification process at all of our schools. The Attorney General recently filed a petition in Fairfax County Circuit Court seeking to subpoena these privileged records. Today, we filed papers in court opposing the Attorney General's petition because we strongly feel this is unjustified.
What?
Why?
Strongly
Why?
feel.
Why do you? Well, I
Strenuously object.
Right.
I strongly feel I have a vagina and I'm a woman, but guess what? That's not true. You can strongly feel just about anything you want. You can strongly feel that you're good looking and you don't look like a freaking big toe. But lady, shit in one hand, make a wish in the other. I don't know what to say to this lady, but you're under investigation. This was court ordered, and you don't get to say, "Oh, you know what? We're going to go ahead and snuff the results." How does she get to do that? Listen, we didn't do anything wrong. Well, how do we know that? Because you said so. Like, don't you believe that there's a conflict of interest here? Let's finish the rest, and then I want comments.
Various FCPS teachers and staff were interviewed as part of this independent investigation. We owe it to them to do everything we can to protect their privacy and personal security.
You didn't care about
protect our
Democrats.
Protect us, not the kids, not the students,
Democrat
not the families.
Biden voters is what that's the word you're looking for, that you're struggling to find with your African Swahili scarf to show unity and pride and all that. And what is that? What is that? What's that on her lapel? Is this a new? What does it look? Those
it's
little
from her scarf.
That's what I was going to say. You remember those Hallmark packages that would come with that gold stretchy rope? It looks like she made a.
Yeah, it does.
Looks like her cat got a hold of it and then she stuck it to her lapel.
The Attorney General.
And she's a cat lady. She's got 20 of them.
General knows multiple FCPS staff members have been harassed and threatened over this issue. We have
Funny, so were parents. We were called domestic terrorists. You fuck. Oh, I didn't say it. You farfengrooven.
Specifically alerted the Attorney General to this concern and described the severity of the threats. Despite these concerns, the Attorney General is now seeking to require public disclosure of the law firm's privileged investigative report and related details. As we have already shared thousands of documents related to this issue, the Attorney General's office has all the facts it needs to complete its investigation. What the Attorney General is seeking to do would put our teachers and staff at risk, which we simply cannot accept. It's also important for me to point out that we must think about the bigger picture. Turning over these privileged materials to the Attorney General would set a troubling precedent and could undermine the willingness of others to cooperate with similar inquiries in the future. Our views on this issue are further explained in a statement from the division issued today, which has been posted to our website. Let me end by saying we appreciate the incredible work each of you do each day to support our students and families.
Dude, listen to the condescending shit.
We must support our students, which has been posted to our website. Let me end by saying we appreciate the incredible work each of you do each day to support our students and families. We must remain focused on our primary mission of ensuring that each and every one of our students can excel in our classrooms and in our community. Thank you.
Dude, you want to talk about where the Reich went when they fled Germany? Fairfax Public Schools. It is one of the most indoctrinated, liberal, socialist, progressive crap holes in America. I cannot stand their ostentatious, entitled, elitist, Harvard, Yale, shitty dispositions. And that's what they come across. Everyone in Virginia is knuckle draggers. We're from Washington. This lady, her air of superiority is exactly like the previous LCPS board president. It's just like Marx that was before her. This is exactly the type of superiority that they feel that they are untouchable, that nobody can hold them accountable, and they literally destroyed the rights of their students and parents by collecting personal data and posting it online as Trump supporters, as conservatives, as domestic terrorists, and reported these families to the FBI. Where were they when they cared about privacy, when they gave up school records and personal information of underage kids? I'm opening up to everybody. Please, go ahead.
Real quick question before that happens. Did she admit on tape during that video that they violated some steps dictated from the IG?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
The AG.
Okay.
AG. Yeah. States Attorneys General.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That they're absolutely a court order refusing to turn over the results and saying that it's because of the Privacy Act for their teachers who had absolutely no regard for students and parents' rights in any way, shape, or form.
But when it comes to their own privacy, they
Right.
do everything in their power to stop it because, we want to protect the rights now.
But
Well, and I'm just thinking to myself that a self-admission of a violation of a known court order in the steps in an effort to help muddy the waters, which, if remained clear, would expose their fault. I mean, that's a major thing. That's going to take if that fell into the right hands, that lady could go away.
It's called obstruction, but that
Right.
only people get charged for that are the president of the old Donald Trump, ex-presidents.
Right.
You don't cast obstruction. By the way, I want to tell you guys something real quick before we get into this. I just want to just segue. I got to sit down with we have to be careful. I received a phone call to go down to the local diner by a very prominent figure in my community and said, there's an associate who I want you to meet who works for a 3-letter agency who's running the security and overall movement of Donald Trump on Tuesday in Florida. And he wants to talk to you.
Nice.
And I get to sit down for this guy for 2.5 hours, and totally a kindred spirit, and can't wait for him to retire so he can come onto the show. But extremely high up in a government agency, and I really can't say anything else. I will just tell you what I heard from this law enforcement official is we're on the precipice of sheriff's department and certain agencies to say enough, and hundreds of them to come out. Not a whistleblower here, a whistleblower there. Wouldn't it all be nice to have wouldn't you like to be a whistleblower too?
When
But
you say
hundreds,
come out.
if not thousands, come out and say, these are the things that we're being told to suppress. These are the cases we're told to focus on. These are the cases we're told not to focus on. These are the orders that we're receiving that are against the Constitution. Here's the illegal wiretaps we're doing. Here is grand jury information and testimony and that is being leaked. This is grand juries that weren't even convened yet, or not even in the secret phase of formation, that were told that a grand jury already came back with a verdict 3 or 4 months ago, before the grand jury even convened, that they had already decided. Some really, I started shaking. Like, I felt like I was in deep throat, that's what I felt like. I felt like I was listening to a whistleblower in a lot of some of the things that I heard that made me very nervous, because one thing I know is that government officials, intel guys, police are absolutely professional, and those who aren't get weeded out. They don't have decade-long careers, right? They get out. So when I have a guy who's sitting in front of me who is looking at over a quarter of a century of service in our government, and then another decade in the military, I was listening, and it was very, very interesting.
I would just like to say something about that. It's one thing for
just leave it open
for the folks that are in the know about their hosts, about Matt and myself. Intel people have to go through a rigorous background check, and they have to adhere to certain guidances. One of them is Executive Order 12333. Now, anybody can look that up. But what it basically says is if you work in intel, you are not allowed by law to look up or investigate or do anything on your own against an American citizen or corporation or an American entity. Now, okay, so that kind of removes anyone who works in the IC from looking at American citizens. But I'm not so sure that that applies to sheriff's offices, towards local police forces, towards anybody who works at a local level in some city function, you know? And so what Matt is talking about is if there is a hint that the higher ups in a lot of the blue cities and states across the country are suggesting to do that, that's really bad. And I don't mean that to be flippant or to say, oh, well, this is be like Donald Trump, 2.0 kind of conspiracy. No, this is really bad. That is, it cannot be overstated the overstep that would be if found to be true. I'll say it that way.
Well, the whole thing about this was, it's not like he's saying there's going to be open revolt. What he's saying is that people are now, they're being asked to go against their solemn oath to the Constitution and to the American people, and there are groups who are done. And when I say hundreds, I'm talking people he knows. Someone's like thousands. And I said, first of all, yeah, of course, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I mean, do you understand 11 million veterans in the United States somewhat right now? I mean, you don't understand. This is an incredible amount of people who probably feel this way, who are being asked to do things that are completely against the Constitution. I mean, I know there's people over in Ukraine who've spoken to me who are saying the things that they're doing are completely against maritime law, that are against peacetime law, that are considered to be criminal at the highest level. The things that are going on stateside, but this guy has firsthand accounts with the, U.S. district attorneys, and
right.
I can't tell you, I can't go anymore. I mean, it's not like he came to me and said, Matt, I'm whistleblowing, but to hear a person of that stature talk like this, it scared the shit out of me, because I'm like, this isn't some conspiracy theory. This is a person who works there every single day who's saying, dude, this is all set up. Like, this has been planned. And I've been saying this, that this was all, listen, Trump is probably, in fact, guaranteed guilty of several things that he is being charged for. And you people just need to fucking get to grips. But the timing of it, the positioning of it, the strategic initiative to do this right before the 2024 election and literally drive him into the polls to bring DeSantis closer. They don't want Trump to run. They have no desire to have him run. And even though he's pushing well against Biden, DeSantis is catching up. I'm going to talk about that tonight. I've got proof. I didn't want to segue off, but I want you to explain that all of this is tied together. And a lot of these officers and people of the law enforcement, whether it be FBI or U.S. Marshals or whatever, they're being told to hush and not release information because it can be damaging to the school boards and the private schools or the public schools. And it's incredibly a huge cover up when it comes to this information. That's why I want you guys to see this video. Amy, Olivia, Leroy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of local law enforcement here too. And the consensus is the same. And I've been told, not just by law enforcement, but other local government agencies, people who work there that I have no association with. I've just had conversations with them. They will openly tell you, well, you can't do this because, the court system doesn't work this way here. And even though that's the law, that's not how it's going to be handled. So, be careful what you're asking for the court system. I literally was just talking about this with my girlfriends because I know a news reporter, and I want to take this to her because I think our local government system here is completely horrible. Just absolutely atrocious. And even though things have gone well for me recently, I've had to battle and fight, and I'm finding my own case laws. I'm finding my own, because it's almost impossible to work the system at this point where we are. So I absolutely understand this. And I know people who are all about this too. So I'm 100% on board with that. And I know people who would be glad to finally say something about it. But tying it back into this school system stuff, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of James Lindsay, but I was listening to him, I think it was yesterday. He did a sit down with Ben Shapiro, and he was talking about the school system and how it became what it is today and how they actually started this in the 70s. And it was in the colleges that they started this, indoctrination or whatever you want to call it. And then how it spread and how they got it to spread. And now, because these teachers who were in school in the 70s are now largely teaching our children, it's now become full circle. So it's a whole new population of the way these people are thinking. That's why it's complete, a whole new population, a whole new way of thinking. And also the freaking Fairfax, first of all, I work there all the time. So I have to be very careful because their school systems, largely like Loudoun County school systems, despite the ongoing investigations and despite all the crap that's happening, are still rated some of the best in our country.
Yeah, they are.
But they're rated that way. If you actually dive into the scales and how they're rated well for things that actually should not matter, like the population and how diverse it is. They will get a higher score on their school rating if they have a higher ethnicity of different cultures and things like that. So because we are close to DC, we have every ethnic background. We have people from literally all over the world who are here and put their children in schools here. And a lot of them are in private schools. And I think with the exception of one or two, I'm fairly certain that the Fairfax County School Board members all have their children in private school, which should tell you something. And two, we're taxpayers. And if we want this information and if it's our information, I think we have the right to say we want it released.
But before we go deeper into this, because there's a lot here. I mean, I can even go into when I was told when I was arrested, oh, you're innocent. You're just going to have to jump through all the hoops to get out of this, and this is going to be painful for you.
Yep.
You're innocent. We know you're innocent, but you're going to have to toe the line, and you're going to have to go through hell in order to clear your name. And that's what was told to me.
So. I was told to stay in an abusive marriage because I was because it was safer for my children to be with my abuser than to leave. I was
real
told
quick
by several people.
I don't want to interrupt. I want to keep things flowing, and this is a conversation that can expound into something a lot larger than what this is, because there's a whole bunch here. And your story, I want you to be careful because you're still going through it, right? And I don't want you to say anything that can be used against you.
Yeah.
A comment I just read, and I this is something I wrote earlier, and I want to go ahead and address. Patricia Odnell Lowen, 3 names, says from Dan Frank. It looks like somebody else wrote this and you just copied it. DeSantis is a big concern. His lifetime scorecard based on the U.S. Constitution is only 70%. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That he voted against the Constitution 30% of the time? Oh, so it says, so he voted against the principles of the Constitution 30% of the time as a congressman. What does that mean? He voted no on S-139. This amendment is an attempt to limit NSA surveillance of U.S. citizens. Warrantless surveillance of U.S. citizens is unconstitutional. No, it's not anymore because of the Patriot Act. So you can blame Republicans for that. And I'm a Republican. I want to read this to you because it's important. And it's funny you said this because this is going to be my show tonight, but I did something else. Before he was a household name, Ron DeSantis was a member of Congress representing part of the Northeast Florida during the presidencies of Barack Obama and Donald Trump. What to know? And when you look over his record, you'll find out that he was a true Republican. Was very bound by a conservative agenda with the Freedom Caucus and other groups. He was a member of the Freedom Caucus. He was the lead sponsor of 52 pieces of legislation in Congress. Only a handful of his bills made it through the House, and none of the bills became law. But he had a number of bills that were sponsored. As a junior member of Congress, they didn't really get out of committee, but they were pushed forward. So I'm not sure what you're talking about when it comes to his own policy. On foreign policy, some of the key bills that he was responsible were the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel. It was one Donald Trump used. State sanctions against Iranian Terrorism Act. Further limits the investment of activities in the country. On the domestic side, he crafted the Target Child Predators Act of 2017 to give law enforcement more time to gather online evidence against predators. He was also a co-sponsor of 550 pieces of legislation that were Republican moved. His overall voting record with Republicans was 94%, one of the highest in that time period. Some included a bill to make Puerto Rico a state. He was against legislation to defund Planned Parenthood, a bill to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and he backed legislation called the Fair Tax Act to replace federal income taxes with a national sales tax that would eliminate thousands of lines of code from the Internal Revenue Service's ability to tax people multiple times with a one-time flat tax. As a congressman, he voted to increase the eligibility ages of Medicare and Social Security. And the reason why he did that is he didn't vote. That was an undeclared resolution, which essentially means that he is aware that it needs to be raised. All these attack ads that people keep saying that he wants to go ahead and destroy Social Security and Medicaid. It's not what he was saying. He said it needs to be raised, and it does. People are living longer. However, we want to go ahead and grandfather everybody in this generation in. This will not go into effect until this current generation. The next 10 years of recipients will not receive less. They will still receive the same amount. The ages will go up for everybody from this date who have only paid into this amount of percentage. How is that wrong? How is that bad?
It's not.
And that's what you guys are feeding. You're listening to these Trump MAGA ads that are saying this. And I don't mind Trump going after DeSantis, but it's true. But you guys are just eating this stuff up.
But you have to, be able to.
I got two more sentences. Let me just finish this and then we can open up.
Yeah.
He also served on 3 very influential committees. He was Judiciary, Foreign Affairs, Governor Oversight of Reform. And these are huge committees, by the way. His background in the Navy and the background as an attorney came in handy with these committees as well. DeSantis resigned his congressional seat in 2018 to focus on the governor's race, which he won, obviously with Donald Trump's help. I don't know what you're talking about with his voting record. He's about as conservative as they come. But these are the lies, right? Now you're going to tell me, oh, yeah, but I got this feeling about him, and it has to do with Soros, right? But it has nothing to do with Soros, and he's not Soros-backed. Because Soros donated to his campaign, I can donate to somebody's campaign. And if you're going to tell me it's guilty by association alone, well, then every single politician who's ever taken money from anything you disagree with, you shouldn't vote for, including Donald Trump, who took money from the Koch brothers. So I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead, Leroy. Or Amy or Olivia.
Go ahead, Leroy.
I think it's important that people really do their research when they're talking about what they saw or what they read in a political campaign, because no matter where it comes from, it's got bias, right? And it's okay to certainly question one of the candidates. I think that's probably a healthy thing. But you really need to boil down, distill what the facts are. Look at the guy's voting record and make your determinations from there. Matt and I have said only a couple of hundred times on this show that there's far more that Democrats have in common with the Republicans than what separates us. And so if we're talking about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the economy, socialism, inflation, the size of the government or taxes, those are things that we can have conversations about. And when you start talking about DeSantis and his voting record, to basically suggest that, oh, well, he only voted with something that falls in line with the Constitution 70% of the time. Okay, what do you mean? Please be specific, because these are definitely conversations that we want to have. And I'm not shooting you down. I legitimately want to know what the hell you're talking about, though. When it comes down to the 2024 election, it's whoever is going to be best on that stage. And it damn well might be Trump. Could be DeSantis. I think Matt's getting ready to talk about recent polling.
Yep.
That being said, keep an eye. You don't fall don't follow Trump just because of his last name. You're not supposed to follow a person blindly and say, that's my leader because of his last name. No, screw that.
Yeah.
What you want to do is find somebody who best represents the conservative side of what you feel, all right, of how they are best representing the Constitution, and follow that.
Yeah.
A person will always let you down, but those values will not.
And I want to get Amy and Olivia back in the conversation, because a lot of this has to do with, a little bit different. Don't be. No, it's me too. Yeah. We do this. The last thing I'll say is I'm not telling you to vote for DeSantis, but I'm also telling you to watch out for Nikki Haley, because if you've been watching the news lately, there's several things she's coming out on that she's getting traction, folks. And I told you I saw DeSantis and Haley as a great ticket. I even think Trump and Haley, Trump is going to be in legal battles till the election. This isn't going away. They have a slew of court cases. He's getting destroyed by the political machine. This is what they do. Why are any of us surprised? This is what happens. And I told you this was going to happen. They are going to lay on Trump every minute of the day until November. He has an amazing conviction. It may not be enough. Let's go to some of the polling. I want to show you this real quick and take a look at this together. I don't know why my stuff didn't save, guys. So just give me a second. Olivia, Amy, do you guys have anything at all, or is it just nope? Don't have anything to add.
To you, Olivia.
No, sorry.
Oh,
God, you guys.
I mean, I'll just say. Well, I was just gonna say, I've already said it, so I feel like I'm just repeating myself again. But
well, then don't. Don't. If you don't want to repeat yourself, then don't. Don't feel like you have to say something. I get all the time from you guys. Well, you and Leroy, you guys go off and off and up. Well, and then I try to jump you in, and you guys don't got anything.
I'll go on for fucking days.
I worry about the whole Trump issue right now. I mean, it does sound, and I don't know how true it is because I did not hear the tapes myself, but I heard it reported that he admitted to knowing that some of the documents he had were classified, and he did not declassify them before leaving office. Again, this is all.
It's 100% correct so far from what we're hearing. They have open testimony and open sources in the affidavit and in the arrest warrant that state just that specifically.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think he's going to. Something will come of this. I don't think it's going to be what everyone's hoping for on the left. But, I think people are tired of this already with Trump. I mean, he is a loose cannon, and we don't want to have a president who is in court all the time. It's exhausting, and it takes a lot of resources. And I don't care how many attorneys you have working for you. It's still a lot of time you have to dedicate to, figuring out. And I don't know. It's all ridiculous, but
well, people were all up in arms, and they're like, "Well, Trump's attorneys resigned," and of course, the Democrats were like, "Oh my God!" Well, that's because most of his legal battles moved to Florida now because of this Georgia thing. So his New York attorneys this happens state to state, jurisdiction and interdiction between lawyers moving between one state and the other are very, very complicated. It doesn't make any sense to fly down to Florida when he's got lawyers. So they resigned because of the Bragg thing pretty much went by the wayside, of course, like we all knew it would. And now Georgia's coming up, and now they're going to hit him on these New York and Florida charges as well. Florida and Washington, D.C., along with January 6th and seditious conspiracy and treason and all this other stuff. It's just going to keep coming, folks. It's not about not caring about Trump. I care about him. I want him to get out. Like, that's what I want him to do almost. I want him to run from behind the scenes. I've been saying this a long time, be a huge influence in the Republican Party, but just go get small for a while. Like, get off the radar of the fucking liberals and let somebody else take the hit, funded by billions of dollars from conservatives coming together. Christians, gun owners, DeSantis fans, Trump fans, conspiracy fans, left fans, up, down, right, women, children, dogs and cats, mass hysteria, working together. I don't care. Literally just pushing for one candidate so they can get this back and go after these people. Here's something that everyone should be concerned by. I mean, everybody. These numbers are, I can show you the poll, and I will. If you take a look here, you're going to see Trump at what?
It's an Ipsos poll.
Ipsos poll, and I've also got overall averages from the top 10 Republican polls, but Ipsos is de facto state of readiness for Republicans. 49%, 19% for DeSantis in May, 9 through the 15th. Pence had 5, Haley had 4, Ramaswamy had 4, Cheney has 3. Watch out for that Cheney. Watch out for Cheney. I'm just telling you right now, she can steal some numbers from him, from the independents and the women, if she gains any traction. But now look at April. Trump's 58%. Excuse me. Let me switch this. It was 58%, 21%. He was plus 37. That's in April 5th through the 6th. Then May 15th drops down to 49%, a 30-point swing, 49% to 19% for DeSantis. So DeSantis went down a little bit. So did Trump, because the other candidates started announcing. But then here's the concerning part for Trump. June, it's now 43% Trump and 22% DeSantis. He's climbing, and he's a plus 21. Trump's now a plus 21. That's not a very big lead for former president in a field that's very, very large. That's not the most exciting news for Trump, folks. I'm just letting you know. Now, it's early. 81% of Republicans said the charges against him were politically motivated. Here's the other one. The CBS poll just came out. 47% said that it's politically motivated. 34% said it's a just and above board. That's an ABC Democratic poll. A lot of America does not believe this. And I told you, when you go ahead and indict somebody or you go ahead and impeach somebody, they get positive pushes in the polls. I'm telling you right now, Trump is going to, he might come out smelling sweeter than than sugar water at the end of this, because America rallies around the underdog. And if they continue to keep hammering him and hammering him and hammering him, remember that larger 3% to 7% majority of liberals and right who are like us, who are constantly in the fray. We run the media. We run the narrative. We run the conversation. It's not those who are actually doing the votes. The people who are voting are the 90% of the rest of America who only get involved 3 months ahead of time. The news did not appear to dent Trump's standing in the Republican nominating contest for 2024 presidential election. The specific charges, including obstruction of justice, became public on Friday afternoon when the indictment was unsealed. Some 43% of self-identified Republicans said Trump was their preferred candidate, compared to 22% who picked Florida. That is an impact. The polling, which began on Friday, a day after Trump announced he had been indicted, listen to this, found that 62% of the respondents, including 91% of the Democrats and 35% of the Republicans, said it was believable that Trump illegally stored classified documents at his home in Florida. We don't have the current polls; those will be out next week. He's going to take a dive. His campaign. We're talking off a cliff. I would be shocked if DeSantis wasn't within 11 to 15 points by the time this comes out. This is going to hurt Trump. Let Amy and Olivia respond, and then we'll chime in.
I actually have a question for a listener. Jeanette Hardoboy or Hardobay or whatever said DeSantis is a rhino. Trump 2024
I don't know.
or RFK Jr. 2024. Can you please explain how he's a rhino? Because if I'm not mistaken, Matthew just went over his voting record just a few minutes ago.
They can't. They know they're afraid. They want Trump. They only want Trump. They believe Trump is ordained by God, and anything else is a sin. And you're not going to be able to convince people like that. They don't even know what rhino means. They just know it's a term. It's a pejorative term that Republicans use to slander other Republicans with absolutely no evidence. They call Nikki Haley. It's basically what a rhino is anyone who is not Trump. That's who a rhino is.
Jeanette, can you please tell us what a rhino is?
Yeah, describe it for us. How did she spell it? Can you tell me?
R-I-N-O.
Okay, well, she spelled it right. Most people spell it
R-H-I-N-O.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh yeah, you're working with a full deck. Amy, your thoughts? Livia, your thoughts? Anybody got any thoughts on this when it comes to the polling? I'm not saying this is the kiss of death. It's way too far away from the election. We don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just telling you right now, the insurmountable lead where people are saying, oh, Trump is so far ahead, there's no chance. That's
still long.
That is no, that is not even like going into the 15th month of a primary in a general election. If you are within 15 points, because Trump wasn't within 15 points of the front runner of the Republican Party.
Right.
When he first started out, he only had like 2.2 and 2.5 to 3% of the overall vote for Republicans. He was where Nikki Haley was. Folks, if you think this can't turn on the dime, then you didn't watch when Donald Trump ran. We better wake up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. To be perfectly honest, I'm not going to be upset if his numbers drop at all. I don't think he's the right person right now. Especially given all this legal stuff that he has to deal with and wade through. It's just going to muddy the waters even further for him. And I totally agree. I think DeSantis would be a great choice. I've been watching more about Nikki Haley now since you guys covered the town hall and talked about that. Like, I've been looking into her more now. I think she could be a great possibility. And I know you guys don't like Ramaswamy. I can't say his first name.
I like him.
I think he would be Vivek.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, I think he would also be a great candidate. I like his answers to a lot of things. I think his one downfall is that he maybe talks too much about things. Like, he doesn't hold anything close to him. And I think that's also important in a president. And I think it's kind of
I'd love to see him in a debate, though.
Yeah.
And some people are saying, well, wait a second, Trump, if Trump steps down, which I think Trump won't, because Trump's too proud, and Trump has the money that they're not ever going to put him in jail. I'm just letting you know. Right. Listen, folks, if half the people that went and diddled kids on Epstein's Island are free, Trump's not going anywhere. Okay, I'm just letting you know. If you don't believe there's a two-tier justice system in this country, then you don't know what you're talking about. So he's not going to prison. They will never let a U.S. president go to prison. They're going to do whatever they can to make him seem completely unelectable. And right now, it's going to work. But here's the thing. If he's not charged for this and this stuff is thrown out, which it very well could be, because under the Presidential Records Act, there's a whole lot of ambiguity, and all he has to do is pull the Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton took classified stuff home, and she didn't have to give it back. During the sock drawer incident with Bill Clinton, he didn't have to give it back. I didn't know. I trust my advisors for that. Trump can feign ignorance. And there's a lot of things that he can say and say, well, of course I wanted to get rid of the documents because it was illegal to have. I mean, shouldn't I destroy them? I mean, they're my personal records. I mean, if I shouldn't have them, should I get rid of them? I wasn't destroying them for nefarious reasons. They knew I had them. What would I be hiding? How stupid would that be? He can play the ignorance defense. And even though he said it on tape that they were wrong, he could have said, well, you know what? There's a lot of things as president I shouldn't say. So I was being boastful. I was pumping myself up. Listen, you guys know how I am. I can be overconfident. I can be condescending. I can be arrogant. So what? Come on. I was just being arrogant. I didn't mean that. There's so many things he can do that it's gonna resonate in a trial. I don't know if it's going to get there. 37 charges is ridiculous. Any judge that sees that immediately goes, these things, they're just piling on. He's also an elected Trump judge. She is an elected Trump judge who was assigned by Trump. So there's a lot of things here. But it comes down to this. If it's 6 months from now, they're still doing the trial thing and nothing is sticking, the American public is going to turn on the Democrats. This is what happens. They did it with Clinton. They did it with Nixon. They did it with Trump during his impeachments, where his favorability went up. So the only thing I wanted to say about this is that when it comes to the rest of this, and then we'll move on, is I'm not saying Trump can't be elected. What I'm saying is that his reputation is getting crushed among Republicans. Those aren't Democratic voters, folks. Those are Republican voters, and those are Republicans who are saying he can't win. If you're on Twitter right now and in the world that I'm in, which is I'm in the middle of this. I got DeSantis people, I got Trump people, and they're all around my Twitter, and they are going through a civil war right now. And I'm not telling you it's small. It's huge. There are hundreds of people pushing DeSantis. Now, somebody just said DeSantis pushed a Fauci pic in a video where he was hugging Trump and it was a deep fake. Yeah. Dude, are you going to tell me, listen, you folks, you're going to tell me that you're going to hit Ron DeSantis for posting a video that wasn't real and not sit here and tell me the hundreds of times Donald Trump has been crushed for sharing false information on True Social and Twitter? Come on. Yeah. You guys got to stop. Go ahead.
I would actually make the argument that the Dems probably want Trump to run, right? Yeah. Because they're looking at this from the perspective that well, we beat him in 2020, right? And all we had to do was put an old man in a basement and run a bunch of negative ads, and that was enough to win the election. Plus the drop boxes. So you could make the argument that the Dems probably want Trump to win nomination, because if Biden has to go and do a debate against a Vivek Ramaswamy on stage, he'll get crucified.
Well, Vivek's
and there's
not
nothing.
President. He's not going to be president, dude.
What I'm saying is that there's no. I'm not saying that Vivek is like, this awesome debater. I'm saying that he's just so much better than Joe Biden, because
I don't know about
basically
that.
a puppet
Hold
at
on.
this point.
Let's go back to now. It's an interesting point you make, and I want to get everybody's opinions, because we all watched the debates and we watched some of them together who were on the show.
Well, I actually had 2 points.
I know, but you don't get to do that, because that's not the way we work.
Okay.
You don't get to sit for 20 minutes and make a point and then have us all forget about it and then go ahead and just go, okay, well, screw it. So that's not the way this works. So write down your other 2 points like I've told you in the past. Let's address this one, and then we'll get to the other one. Who here believes that Joe Biden had bad debates against Donald Trump?
I mean, they weren't bad. Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
It wasn't. Yeah, they weren't awful and slam dunks, but I don't think he necessarily did amazing.
How did everyone else do in the Republican field against Donald Trump during the primaries?
Trump sucked the air out of the room.
He killed everybody. He destroyed them. Joe Biden is the only person who actually stood up against Trump and made Trump look petty at times during those debates. Joe Biden came to play in those debates.
He got under Trump's skin.
He did. And Trump didn't really do well until the back half of the part, but most people had turned off by then. Listen, no, Biden was not terrible in the debate. That's completely bullshit. He was not terrible. You're absolutely wrong, Kyung. I watched every minute of it. I scored every single one. Trump crushed at the end with energy, and Biden hung himself with energy. But Trump was yelling, Trump was interrupting, Trump was going over him, and then Biden just did what Biden does and actually acted like Trump. It's exactly, your expectations for Biden were here. And your expectations for Trump were here, because he had knocked out in every debate. What happened was Biden just stayed here, and Trump's performance was down here. And it made Biden look magnanimous, which is terrifying because he's a complete idiot. The debate against Trump and Biden predominantly was strong. And the best debate of that entire time was Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence. And Mike Pence just literally destroyed her.
Was
just
awful.
destroyed her. And that saved Trump's bacon in the debate. So I don't know if Biden now, you're right. I think a lamppost could beat Biden because he would walk into it, Leroy. I'm with you. But I want to be careful, because there's times we've expected him to come out like the State of the Union or addressing Afghanistan. We're expecting him to fall flat in his face. And we're like, oh, they gave him his shot today. He actually looks like he's halfway, coherent.
Presidential.
He always does that, doesn't he? He seems to somehow, whether it's his body double or the lizard. All right, go ahead with the other 2 points.
Well, no. It was only one other point, and it was actually a comment from Patricia O'Donnell Lewin.
Yeah, the three names person.
I know I pronounce. Yeah,
the
but she actually has. I'm going to venture to say you might actually change your opinion on a three-letter or a three-name person. At
I
this
will
point.
never ever change my opinion on it. But I can give her a pass.
Well,
I can write her a hall pass.
Okay. Well, her comment is Matt. Thank you for addressing this. I believe you over the other person who, I suppose, misled me. I'm an 81-year-old distraught over our republic. It consumes me daily. I'm sorry to say that. I'm sorry to hear that, Pat. That's terrifying. And this is not the America I grew up in. That was her comment.
Pat, do me a favor. I want you to go to don'tunfriendme.com. You can go to thedumshow.com. THEDUMSHOW. Olivia's putting it in the Facebook notes right now. I want you to go and look at all the shirts that we have and the coffee. I want you to go pick out something nice for yourself. Everything but a hoodie, because those are taking forever to ship right now because it's no longer winter. Anything else on the site, pick out, and then send me an email at owner@don'tunfriendme.com. Olivia's going to put this all in the notes right now. If you have any questions, you can email Olivia or send her olivia@don'tunfriendme.com is her email. And just pick out a shirt, which one you want, free of charge. I'll be sending it to you. And no, I still think women with three names are absolutely crazy, but they do get hall passes from time to time, and you get a hall pass as not being crazy.
There
okay?
You go.
All right.
There you go.
Free shirt. So everyone take care of her, please. All right. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
I think as far as the debates go with Trump, it really depends on his state of mind of which Trump we're going to get. Because I've seen him in some debates where he's amazing. The debates against Clinton where he was amazing and nothing was able to get him off topic, and he was there and
because
it was
you'd be in jail.
Yeah, I mean that
he had those zingers.
some of the best. Yeah. But then there are other times where it's like Biden, all he had to say was one word, and it was like it ruffled him, and he couldn't think, and he was just like all over the place.
Because he was like, he's like, oh, come on, tough guy. He's like, do you ever shut up? And Trump, I mean, nobody talks to Trump that way. I mean, but they said Biden's the only guy that could stand up to Trump. And whether you like this or not, whether you want to believe it or not, he actually stood up to him against those debates. And they both came out looking 50-50, bad and good. That's the truth. And whether you like it or not is not important. Pat, I appreciate you saying that. John, nobody believes in a body double of the lizard. No, that's called humor. It's called being sardonic. I don't believe in any of that. It's a joke, dude. So you're looking for the Q aisle, and that's three aisles down and to the left, right next to the baby food and the diapers. So you're in the wrong show. All right, let's move to this. Olivia wants to show us something, and then I think everyone will have a hot take on this, because this is what we've come to expect. Don't you remember, everybody, with
the kid,
the Islam? No, not yet. Not doing the kid, but with Islamophobia. How the Islam nation was the Democrats' great white hope, and Republicans all wanted to destroy them. And Sharia law is fine, just bring it on in, and let's all wear burqas, and let's support Saudi Arabia and anyone else who goes ahead and canes women and all this other stuff. Well, now they're kind of backpedaling. So Olivia brought this to me. Olivia, walk me through this. What is this? What is happening in Maryland?
Okay, so in District 5 in Maryland, there is a council person, city council member, I guess, Democrat. Her name is Kristen. Where did I put her name? Kristen Mink, I think.
Kristen Mink. Yep.
Yep. And she's a former public school teacher, which this should terrify you. There was a school board meeting the other day.
Wow.
Hold on.
Wish
Hold
I
on.
bought
I'm gonna mute it. Hold on.
These
like,
weeks
wait a second,
store
what?
brand.
No, hold on. I'm just gonna mute it. Let me. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right. So this is her. This is a picture of her. She has blue hair shaved on the side. So I'll just let you know. There's a code for this. Is everyone ready? Just shh. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Lesbian. Okay. So just wanted to let you know.
I love that word. I love that word.
Shaved head on the side, wearing pride shirt, blue hair, lesbian. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a lesbian. I'm just letting you know so you know where she's coming from. Go ahead.
So at the school board meeting the other day, some Muslim children were there, and they were standing up for their right to opt out of reading certain books and certain things that were against their religion and that they did not want to read. And she called them white supremacists, whatever. I can't
Supremes.
say it. Supremacists. And she don't make fun of me.
We absolutely are going to make fun of you.
It's a Monday.
Wait, time out. Stop. Absolutely, 100% with no equivocation, we are going to make fun of you. That's going to happen. So Donna Summer, just chill out and try to finish. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no cross that can't burn on your fucking lawn.
Jesus.
She's the one that said, okay, guys, I'm just going to go. KKK. That was her. I didn't say that. I'm going to play back the video and I'm going to sound clip it 30 seconds. That's what she's going to say. All right. So tell us about the supremacists from the 1970s singers. Okay.
You're funny. So anyway, she just compared them to that. That's all I'm going to say is that.
Okay.
And she's also she has bashed white women, and she has a history of bashing white women and Zionist Jews. And
oh, she sounds like a peach.
Oh yeah, and she was on a board for an organization she formed in 2019 called Lights for Liberty. I did not look it up, so I'm not sure what it is. She is.
Wasn't that a song by the
Liberty
Supremes?
is.
Wasn't that a song?
That's funny.
Life of Liberty. This guy
Funny.
goes, "I'll take a large supreme pizza." I love it.
Yeah. So she's resigning from there because it's too white on the executive
All right.
level.
Well,
for
don't
her
give up the whole
preference.
video. I mean,
No, that's the only video. It's 40 seconds about the.
When you
the
say that, you
school.
have to actually enunciate the H. It's too white.
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 It's white.
White.
So
anyway.
all right.
she's
So minus
just-
making fun of the supremacists. I get it. It's a little bit of a joke. It's funny. Haha. If you can't laugh at yourself, you shouldn't be laughing. John Fenton. I think. What is John's name? I'm sure he's just somebody who I've banned before because he immediately picks on the one thing after all the shit that I said that was so righteous and freaking perfectly stated with no notes. And you're like, oh, why you mention? He goes, why did you mention the lizards and the body doubles? Because, dude, it's called satire. It's called being sardonic. It's a joke. Dude, get an avatar picture. Seriously, man. The Invisible Man shit. I mean, people like you, they're just your bots. You shouldn't even be allowed on my site. Anybody without a profile picture or at least one follower shouldn't be able to say anything on my site. So don't push your luck, kiddo. All right, here it is. Let's go ahead and watch this. Maybe. Oh, you know what? It's in the other thing. Hold on. I downloaded it, didn't I?
I thought you did.
I did. Here it is. I just wanted to see if you get it. All right, folks. Here are the Supremists with their #1 hit single. Ain't No Cross High Enough.
Crushing
Enjoy
Liberty.
This. Did the Supremes sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough?
Somebody just said it was Diana Ross, not Donna Summer.
Whatever. Same thing. Who cares? Who
Donna
cares?
Summer was
Who cares?
disco, man.
It was all the same thing. It was all Dionne Warwick, Deion Summers, Deion
It's not the
Sanders.
same.
What? Who gives a shit? I don't care. Okay, don't care. Dionne Warwick, well, she was fantastic. She had her psychic friends. Deion Summers was in Fame. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it Deion? So Deion Summers was disco. That's right. And
Donna
then
Summers.
Donna
Summer.
Wait.
Donna
Wait,
Summer.
wait.
Deion
disco.
Summers. Donna Summers.
All right, so
was
name.
disco.
See, this is what happens when you start making fun of a
She was
loser.
a
Everyone gangs
Supremist.
up on you. So who was in the Supremists?
I don't know. I never listened
I know,
to him.
I know,
That's
I know.
way before my time.
George Wallace, Strom Thurmond. What else? Who else was
I
in
actually
that
have a
band?
funny story about that.
Robert
someday.
Byrd. No, we don't want funny stories. Robert Byrd. Hold on. We're trying to figure out who's in the
They're
Supremists.
trying to make fun of me, Leroy.
Why
Be
do you
quiet.
always bust the mojo when we're trending? People are coming on and laughing, and you're like, I want to tell a story to really break the mood. Gosh. So Donna Summer was a disco star,
Yes.
and who was in the Supremes that
I will find out for you right now.
we got to get this real quick, and
It's
then
Diana
Leroy, tell your
Ross.
story. Diana Ross. Wait, Diana
Yes.
Ross did some disco, didn't she?
All right.
Help me
So,
understand, bro. I don't know. That's why I'm asking, and you're like, oh, just tell me who was it?
It's Diana Ross.
Diana Ross was
My
the main
my
one.
funny story.
I don't want to know the
is that
story. I
have
want to know who was in the Supremists, and then I'll hear the story. Who was in the
It's
Supremists?
Florence Ballard,
Thank
Mary
you.
Wilson, and Diana Ross.
Okay, Diana Ross. And Donna Summer was the disco star.
Was the disco.
And Dionne Warwick was on Solid Gold. Am I right? Is that
She
correct?
was the
Am I
one
on?
who said she had that song about that's what friends are for. Yeah.
Okay. Now
Yes.
tell us your funny story. Now that I'm all educated. Thank you very much. Appreciate
I
it.
have I come from a big family, big Italian family, and one of them, one of my uncles, he books a bunch of dates and manages the facilities for bands when they come into town, big bands, Metallica, this
big
kind of
bands.
thing. So my dad, God rest his soul, when he was still with us, was at his parents' house, and this uncle was in town, and the phone rings, and it's this woman on the phone who's trying to get a hold of this uncle, and his name is Tony DeChocho. So the voice says, "Hey, is Tony there?" And my dad, who is now, he's the one who answered the phone, says, "Yeah, can I tell him who's calling?" And she says, "Yeah, this is Diana Ross." And she was trying to clarify some dates for when they got booked. So I thought that was interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That was
He
a
told
good
me to
story.
do it. That was
Whatever.
him.
Whatever.
My hands are
Whatever.
here.
I don't even
Why
give
would
a
you
shit.
leave him alone? It's not his fault. He just wanted to tell a story. I got one that's better for you. Listen to this one, Leroy. This one's good. No, this one's good. She's doing all that shit. She's doing
Olivia,
listen.
you better knock it off,
listen.
girl.
You got to listen. Here it is.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
I love Venn diagrams.
Oh man, I just can't.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
Oh,
She sounds so drunk right there.
She's so horrible. She is a horrible human being. All right, so let's get to this. I want to watch this video. John Fenton's still talking to himself. John, listen. He's like, so you're gonna unfriend me?
Oh, God.
It says don't unfriend me. It doesn't say anything about you.
God, I hate it when people say that.
It's so stupid. It's the dumbest thing. You don't even know why the show. You don't even know the name.
Can you?
This is why there's dum-dums and dummies. And don't be a dum-dum, right? Just
Can I
dude,
unfriend you?
You don't need the attention. You don't need the attention. I said one thing that you have a problem with, and now you're just gonna ride that fucking bunkin' Bronco until you know. Do you guys remember that movie? What was the movie with the cowboy jumped
8
off?
seconds.
Shut up.
Isn't that the name of the movie?
Cowboy. Keep going. I'll tell you.
Say
I'm the
cowboy.
walking
She's like Brokeback Mountain, the Urban Cowboy, Saturday Night Fever with rhinestones, the Silverado, High Noon. Can I just finish?
No, but
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. So where the guy's jumping off, and I don't remember his name. Older guy. He was. I go ahead. He's the guy who says, we need to go back to town and get a shit ton of dimes on Blazing Saddles. Yeah. Come on. I know. But anyway,
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Merle something.
No.
Yeah.
Slim
it's not Merle Haggard.
Pickens.
Slim Pickens. All right. So something like that, right? I was close. Is it Slim Pickens? Anyway, where he's on a nuke and he gets dropped from Enola Gay or whatever. And he's like, yeehaw! You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah,
What was the name
Dr.
of that movie?
Strangelove.
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So here's the video. This is John Fenton. John Fenton is going down with the ship. Just calm down, buddy. Calm your tits. All right. Let's listen to this person.
I've had a lot of really good conversations this morning with
Which
many
means
of the
she's had
people
none.
who have testified here, and you know, and it's more complicated, I think, than a lot of people would like to than a lot of people would like to think it is. This issue has unfortunately put some, not all of course, but some Muslim families on the same side of an issue as white supremacists and outright bigots, and you know however, the folks who I've talked here today, I would not put in the same category as those folks, although
God bless
you know
you.
it's
Thank
again
you.
complicated because they're falling on the same side of this particular issue. I've had a lot of really good
So I'm going to say one thing and then I'm going to turn it over to the panel. Okay. Sorry, that sounded ostentatious. Okay, folks, I'm going to turn it over to the panel, basically, which is made up of like my wife and 2 friends. It's not quite really a panel. It's not like I had convened this panel. Hey, you guys want to be on the panel?
Oh,
Dude,
sure.
we're on
Call
every
me a
fucking-
friend now.
We're on,
That's not what you called me last night.
Listen,
Blowing in my ear last night.
You're just upset because you're a supremacist. So,
Supremacist.
That's
It's a new
pretty
t-shirt.
secret lovers. That's what we are. Okay, so
Gladys Knight and the
Stop it.
Pips,
You-
man. That's me.
you're not, dude. You're not going to derail me from my thought. I have no idea what I was going to say. So I don't know what this epidemic is going on in society where, like, you know how people emulate. It's like the top hat, right? I mean, how did the top hat become to a state of prolificacy that was considered to be regal, right? Somebody wore it who was rich and waxed their mustache, and then everybody wore the top hat, or you know, a certain type of mustache or a goatee, or now beards and tattoos are in style. I don't understand where this AOC hipster, airhead, half mentally challenged, can't formulate a sentence and put a sentence together to save your life persona came from. But this shit needs to go out and die like disco. This is a AOC clone, and she can't put a coherent thought together. She has there's no neurons firing inside of her brain to be able to put a coherent sentence together. And she even holds her glasses like AOC. It's just everything about her screams that I'm a ditzy bartender who used to dance around and show off my boobs in order to make ends meet, and now I'm writing legislation for the constituents of aforementioned congressional district. It's terrifying. Liv, you found the video. What struck it as, besides her calling little Muslim children white supremacists, what was it that made you go, this is interesting, I want to show this to everybody?
Well, the headline of the article that I read said Maryland Democrat declares white women should be struck down from the leadership to dismantle systematic racism. So right there, I was like, okay, I'm going to read this.
And supremacists.
Yeah, you're funny.
Whatever.
Yeah, you're a fucker.
Well, that was some weird shit.
So I wanted
Did
to
she
go into
just call
it,
you a
but
fucker?
I did.
Yeah, mother. I'm like, yeah, and you're a blank sucker. So what? Duh. You get no reason to out our personal life in front of everybody. Go ahead.
Oh, my goodness.
Go ahead.
Do you want to tell the story, or are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did
It's a
I
good
break
show.
your concentration?
I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
If we want to hear you talk, I will shove my arm up your ass and work your mouth like a puppet.
Done?
We're done.
Okay. He's like, you need to talk more. So I tried to talk more, and then you do this.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Let's go, fourth supremacist. Let's get it going.
Oh, my God. Fourth
That's
supremacist.
fourth supremacist. I'm the fourth supreme.
Jeez. So the video I watched actually showed, it was longer, and it actually showed clips of the children talking at the...
Oh, that was the one on Fox. I'll get
Yes, at the school board meeting. And they were all well-spoken, and, I mean, it's something that I would think our kids would say if they went to a school board meeting. And the fact that she's comparing them to that is horrible. And again, going more in depth into the article, that she is a bigot and a racist herself. She doesn't like white people.
There was a time when I barely knew how to type.
She
Hold on one
doesn't
second.
like
Now,
Jews.
I'm a
Hold
cybersecurity
on, 2
specialist.
seconds.
ECP.
Okay, I was getting the video. I got it now. Whenever you're ready.
So she doesn't like Jewish people either. She has a history of being against white people, Jewish people, now Muslim people. It's just, she's not, it's
She only likes
terrifying.
Democrats.
Yeah, it's terrifying that she was a public school teacher, and it's even more terrifying that she's writing public policy. And that just scares me.
Let's watch the video so we
Okay.
can all be scared together, and then
Okay.
we can comment. Because this isn't the right video, I guess.
This issue has unfortunately put, it does put some, and not all, of course,
and prosper. I respectfully request
this issue has unfortunately put, it does put some, and not
our faith. And
I'm so sorry.
and all the regular issue.
We've heard her.
Material. I'm a
Here
school
we go.
student of MCPS. The folks who I've talked, again, complicated because they're falling on the same side of this particular issue.
Hi, my name is Saad Beg. I'm a middle school student of MCPS. I'm here to talk about the opt-out option for reading material. I'm not here to take away the right of anyone being recognized in the community. I'm here to talk about my rights. My religion teaches to respect all religions and all human beings and their rights. So does my country law. And I want my right back to have an opt-out option. In the last Board of Education meeting, someone said that many people of the LGBTQ community are being bullied. That may have been the case some time ago, but these days it's quite the opposite. There are over 40 kids that I know who don't want to learn this and really want to be here talking today, but can't because they are being bullied. They are the ones being bullied when they say we don't want to learn this.
Although the introduction of texts and discussions related to transgenderism and LGBTQ.
What? This kid reminds you of our kids?
No, I didn't say that. I said I would hope that the girl at the end was very
where did they find this guy? At a freaking like a Taco Bell or something, and said, "Hey, man, do you want to speak on this?" Sure, I was in high school for my 8th year. I was once not like this, and now I am like this. And I'll just say, Lieutenant Dan keeps saying that Jenny keeps poking me in the butt talk. So I'll just tell you
to be all-inclusive regardless of race, gender, and identity. I don't believe my first grade and third grade cousins are prepared to read and discuss about such issues at MCPS.
All right, I
The issue of gender and sexuality are influenced by our
wrong.
faith, and we should not be caricatured as intolerant.
Go get him, girl.
And our faith perceived to be subversive because it doesn't align with your beliefs. Intolerance of the faith community threatens to erode support for religious freedom, therefore eroding the benefits it provides for everyone, religious and non-religious. Pluralistic societies that value human dignity and do not view faith communities as a problem to be eliminated will only thrive and prosper. I respectfully request the restoration of the opt-out option at MCPS. Thank you. Takbir.
I love how she like glares at her when she says certain things.
It's fantastic, man. I mean, that's what I'm talking. Okay, all right, we got to do this. I want to get to comment. I'm going to show you this. I want to show you the opposite. That's a Gen Zer, right? That's a Muslim woman.
Sure.
A young Muslim man who have some things to say. And now I'm going to show you Harry Sasson, which got me to do a 35-minute video tonight. And honestly, in my opinion, I'm not trying to be biased here. I think it's entertaining. I think it's storytelling. What's the score?
It is 51-42 Miami Heat right now.
Okay, they'll come back. Nuggets got this. Okay. All right. You going to bed?
No, did you throw away my steak?
Buddy, we got to go. We're doing a show.
It's in the blue sandwich thing, dude.
All right. So here we go.
Ethan's such a good kid.
Leave that alone. Thanks, buddy. Right there. Leave it open. Good man. Hey, if you need help, come get us. We'll go get it. I'll do it. All right. So here's the video of Harry Sasson. I want you guys to watch this. Get a feel for this guy. Nobody likes this guy. This guy, he has one gear, and that is speed. And I'm talking methamphetamines. Here it is.
Let's make something abundantly clear. The Republicans who are attacking President Biden for flying the pride flag outside of the White House are the same Republicans who stayed silent while white supremacist flags were being flown outside of Disney in Florida this weekend. They go after the pride flag, which symbolizes pride in oneself, but stay quiet on the others, which symbolize hate and bigotry. Look, the Republican Party continues to be on the wrong side of history, and that is how we should remember them.
Oh, that's incorrect.
I know. I know.
That is so flagrantly wrong.
I know we do, but I want to point out a couple things before we get into this video. Okay, so everyone's flipping out about this picture, and guys and girls, this isn't about pride. This was never about pride. We've been putting up with that pride stuff for a long time, and I am so over it. I don't even care. Everyone has a right to love whoever they want, and if you don't believe that, I don't give a shit. I don't care.
Sure.
We have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the Washington Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, the White House, freaking Sears Tower, the Freedom Plaza have all been lit up with rainbow colors plenty of times, okay? This isn't bothering anybody. What's bothering us, and this is liberals, they're too freaking stupid to understand, no offense, they just are, that the problem is that you have the LGBTQ flag at the same height as a U.S. flag. And I understand that there's a provision that the President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief can go ahead and do anything he wants with a flag and put it any way that he wants. I understand that. It doesn't matter. The United States flag should be flying at its highest point. Now, these photos are responsible for the media who put this out here in conservative outlets and leftist outlets to make and trigger and gaslight people. Because let me show you what I saw. And it took me 2 minutes to get this picture. Are you ready to see it? Great, because I'm going to put this all to bed. This picture took me one phone call and asking for. If you look right above, see my mouse? Do you see that? On the top of the White House every single day through tornado and hurricane and all inclement weather, there is a U.S. flag flying at the highest point of the White House at all time, which follows flag etiquette and flag code and law. It still doesn't mean that you should fly the LGBTQ flag hanging in a bannered position along with the U.S. flag in any way, shape, or form. Because why? Here's why. Because that U.S. flag right there is hung incorrectly. It's hung upside down. You don't hang the stars and the field of stars and the blue to the right. It's hung to the left. Always. So they're hanging normal, non-banner hanging flags in a banner position, number one, which is disrespectful.
Wait,
and number two,
in the other photo, I think it was that way. Is this a mirrored picture? One of them.
No, it's not. No, because the handwriting on here.
I thought that's the other picture.
No, the handwriting's straight. The other one has to be mirrored. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I just looked at it. Curious. Yeah, because maybe this one is. Oh, did they transpose it, you think?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
So which one's right and which one's wrong? The one I'm using for evidence is incorrect, and the one that I'm using to lambast, but also say, here's the evidence is incorrect. Because hold on, let me just turn up the brightness.
Is there anything on that flag in front of her, or what is she holding up?
I apologize. It is transposed. So I just saw the writing on here. You're absolutely right, Amy. Great eye. It is hung correctly. My bad, and I own it. I was wrong. However, you still don't hang it exactly at the same level of the U.S. flag in any way, shape, or form. That only stands for countries. It only stands for countries and visiting states, and only at a time of war do those fly prostrate to the U.S. flag. Everyone should understand that. That's why the United Nations of country flags and the state flags are all in line with the United States. Only at a time of war would they fly in a prostrate position. It doesn't matter. The point is that this has went from love and inclusion to now symbology, just like crucifixes, just like Bibles and everything else. This is now being proselytized. I want to get some comments, and then I would like to show the show if I could, so you guys can watch it, and then we can cut bait and go home for the night. Thanks for seeing that, Amy. Good call.
I'm really good at those find the difference pictures. I do them with my kids.
Great.
So
you did
I'm
awesome. Man, I'm an expert at those.
I'll just say this about the whole flag. One, they keep changing the flag to represent. I mean, the community keeps growing and the flag keeps changing. I just think it's I think it's disrespectful to fly it. I don't think it's inclusive of everyone because I don't agree with 90% of what they're trying to push on the. Not even just. Oh, sorry, I just hit my lotion over.
It's okay.
America, but the world, and I don't find it to be. To me, it's very off-putting. I think the White House should be very reverent. I've never, I mean, and I could be wrong, but do they fly other flags for other months that we celebrate? Like, is there, I'm just, what other time has this happened? I have no idea, but it's like, this is so in your face. And I don't think the White House is the place to be pushing an agenda.
Especially with visiting countries. It is the most visited place in the world besides Disneyland. Disneyland, Washington, D.C., there are more foreign nationals in that country. You have to understand. You know what? This is in the video. If anybody does anyone have any problem? If you need to go. This is, in my opinion, this video moves fairly quickly and it's more storytelling and it's not a lot of reading to you. It's literally, there's no notes. It's just me telling you what my thoughts are and trying to put this into words. If everyone's cool, let's watch it and we can discuss. If you got to go, you got to go. Anybody need to bow out?
No, but I do want to say something real quick.
Go.
I definitely don't agree with flying that flag, but it doesn't surprise me considering they flew the Ukraine flag in the Capitol.
Yeah.
It's the same. It doesn't surprise me in the least.
Mason, you can sit here and say F gay pride if you want to. I don't agree with you. I think, listen, this isn't about pride. If it is, then we are a bunch of hypocrites because we have literally not made any noise about this. In my opinion, at least what it is for me, it has nothing to do with gay pride. This has everything to do with our children. It has to do with sexualization of children. It has to do with crossing a line into trying to replace Christianity, trying to replace the matriarch and patriarch society with something that is absolutely proselytized and is just as bad as bringing religion into an area where not everyone celebrates that same religion. Not everyone's straight, not everyone's gay, not everyone's left, not everyone's right. We should teach our kids STEM and we should stop trying to indoctrinate them. Leroy, do you have something real quick?
Yes. Whenever I see comments like that say, fuck gay pride, I just, it makes my skin crawl. Because there's a level of non-acceptance that's built into that statement that is pretty offensive.
Yeah, you just don't like gay people. Just admit it. Just admit it.
Me? No, I think that's
not
the
you,
opposite
Leroy.
of what
I'm not talking
saying.
about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about him.
You mean Mason? Now that being said, when we're talking about Pride Month, right? What is pride? And this is something I've asked myself 100 times. It could be a pack of lions,
a video game.
Pride is something that you feel.
It's also
right?
a pizza chain. Did you want to know? Oh, well then Go ahead, Leroy.
Leroy's good to be in my seat, huh? This is how I feel.
Yeah, you can't. You seem you can't dish it. You can dish it out.
I don't give a shit. I'll keep going now. So
right,
pride is something
What's
that you feel as a result of an achievement. Now, if the community, by and large, has always advertised this is just how we are, right? It's not a choice. It's not something. It's just who we are. It's as solid as the color of one's skin or one's genitalia. Okay, that's not something that you should necessarily feel prideful of, because you're basically saying, "Look,
I didn't do
I
anything.
have this pride because I am white, or I have this pride because I am a girl, or I have this pride because of something that you have no choice over."
Right.
But that's not what pride is. Pride is a sense. It's something that you feel as a result of an achievement, and so those are two very different things. That's always been something that bothered me. Sorry, go ahead.
No, don't you be sorry. It's a great point. And the point is, and listen, this video, dude, I think I want everyone to do me a favor. We've got 160, 75, whatever, sub 200 people on. I want you to stay, because the first 10 or 15 minutes, you might be like, where's Matt going with this? And I want you to listen to what I'm saying. And I'm calling out Christianity a little bit. This is an in-depth conversation that I really want people to hear. And I don't do this very often, but when I want you guys to see something and hear something, I put it on the live show, and most of you stay. Okay, someone ban Mason. I just get rid of him. I don't need to have a... Mason, it's not that. You can not like pride, but you don't need to mock what people are talking about. We're not...
Right.
This isn't what this is about. This is a higher level conversation that we're trying to discuss why this is bothersome, and you're just going ahead and you're floating the tab of what liberals say about Republicans. So you can be that way. That's cool, dude. I don't mind that. I was that way 25 years ago when I was a fucking ignorant moron. You're just taking a little bit longer than everybody else. So someone ban this fucking guy, please. Yeah, I don't care if the Bible bans. I think you're a fucking homophobic douchebag. So you're gone. So see ya. Someone get him. Let's go ahead and watch this. Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Good to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, we do what we usually do and take some topics and try to present a side that, is fairly balanced, maybe not in political ideology, because obviously I'm a conservative and Republican, more conservative and moderate at the same time. I know that doesn't necessarily make much sense, but either does the range of our political parties now. The left is no longer left. They're no longer liberal. Conservatives are the farthest thing from conservatives. And really, we have a mishmash of deciding where you stand fiscally, where you stand fundamentally, and where you stand from a global perspective. And I guess I could say I'm fairly moderate on most things. However, my default is to be conservative when it comes to, do we need more government or not? And the answer is no. Let the states kind of work things out. And this is a topic that I spent a couple hours on trying to write something that wasn't prescriptive or prosthetic. And a lot of people will say, well, Matt, that's not the way you are. You may be a little mundane in your presentation style, and it might be, a little bit of drudgery and then some sludging through the trough. And then it gets to this climactic catalyst where everything makes sense. And that's usually the way my shows are. But this will be more from just straight off the cusp, more like our live shows, but really trying to be as honest as I can. This topic is not easy. And my loyalties are divided here because if anybody needs a pause to make a comment, one thing when you're a purveyor of history and causation, and you've studied patterns in order to make predictive analysis or an educated decision on what's coming, and especially in this job, whether I was working in retail or the military, working in intel, whatever it was, those things were paramount. But here, more than anything, is if you make a call that isn't accurate, you're going to lose viewers. And you lose viewers, then there really is no point doing this. And I'm well aware that I have crossed that line several times where I've lost viewers because of my stance, and that's never my concern. What I don't want to do is lose viewers because I'm being misinterpreted. So being very deliberate with what I say here and saying I've looked at this from all different angles. as a very young boy, my mother and father were not necessarily the most nurturing of people. They were fairly narcissistic. I wonder where I get that from. As we all can be at some point. But they were very concerned with keeping up with the Joneses and what could they do to constantly develop themselves in their work, never being satisfied, never being happy, never looking around themselves and realizing that maybe living beyond our means wasn't the focus, that we should have tried to pull back because we went through some hardships, 3 years with no carpet in our house because the water heater flooded and ruined all the carpet. And we're walking around on concrete. And recognizing that my mom went through brain surgery and put my dad in a position where he had to work 3 jobs. And although I say narcissistic, when it came to where they stood in life, not so much when it came to making sacrifices for the kids, which always seemed to come first. So we have to tip our hat, at least I do, to my parents for that. But it reminds me of a time when my mom was working at B. Dalton Bookseller, and she was always so proud. And if you remember B. Dalton, it was before Barnes & Noble, and it was ultimately bought out. But B. Dalton was predominantly in malls, and they would have like their own little Macy's Day window where the latest book would be coming out, whether it be Tom Clancy or some sort of love romance novel, where the managers were responsible for getting a budget, probably like $50, and back then that was a lot of money, to go to the local Five and Dime and create these windows that were magnificent. And if it was a rendition of 34th on A Miracle on 34th Street or something, they'd do a Christmas scene. If it was a romance novel, they would put sand and seashells. Well, my mother was amazing at doing these. And there was another gentleman that helped my mother do them, and his name was Kent. And Kent was a young man who was on his mission, and he was in California, and he was from Utah, obviously, and he was a Mormon, Latter-day Saint, and was just a diminutive, small-statured human being. I would say in the range of 5'7", 5'8", maybe $120, soaking wet, but had a soft appearance, had a very soft-spoken way about him, and someone who you instantly liked, and I certainly did. And I was young at the time. I must have been no more than 8 or 9 years old. But when you grow up with a Marine Corps father, there are stereotypes in the house, and whether it be about color or religion or sexual orientation, yes, even back then, there was a very strong sense of disrespect to the homosexual community, at least from today's standards. It wasn't a vile hatred. It was a lack of understanding and almost a level of disgust, because the feelings that we all get when younger children see it now don't necessarily find it strange because they're inundated with it at a young age. It's in the movies. It's being talked about in school. We understand these things. But back then, it wasn't. It was very foreign and very similar to the days that a black actor kissed a white woman, Sidney Poitier, for the first time on a movie, and then happened on TV as well. It was a shock to the people. And in a society that had a lot of bigotry and prejudices, it created some unease. And this had happened with the LGBTQ community when I was growing up. And it was in the front of the news all the time. And this was more of the LGB community at this point. And with Ronald Reagan and AIDS, and there was Matt Shepard and the beating of Matt Shepard, and all of the jokes and the misnomers and the disrespect, it was serious. And it was dark, and it was not like it is today, where a lot of this is microcosms of maybe some leftover prejudice or bigotry, or lines that are being crossed into areas where the shoe is on the other foot, so to speak. And I'll go into that more later. But Kent was a soft-spoken person, like I said, and whether he was homosexual or not, I have no idea. In fact, this was never discussed with me because there was no reason for me to know. Very similar to with my children now. I don't feel I need to have that conversation with them. Quick sub story. At 10 years old, my daughter came up to me and she said, well, I'm questioning some things about my sexuality. And I said, great, we'll talk about it when you're 16. You don't need to talk about this now. In fact, we should be worried about where you're going to go play, what sports you're going to do, what's coming on TV, what movie you're going to. Let's put it to bed. We'll talk about it in a while. And if you feel you need to have a conversation, that's fine, but we don't need to figure this out right now. And she said, sure. And then 2 years later, she came to me and said, hey, Dad, guess what? I like boys. And I looked at her and I said, great, we don't need to be talking about this now. Let's wait till you're 16. Go ahead and go to the mall, go watch movies, listen to music, and we can discuss this later. And if you need to talk about it, we will. But for now, let's just go ahead and be a kid. That was very much the way it was back then too. And it is for a lot of families. The reason I brought up Kent is because he was a family friend and worked with my mom. And my mom obviously saw things in Kent that she didn't see in her other children. And that's ultimately the way my mom was, always looking over the fence at who she could rise up and compete with. But she would bring Kent over, and he was always so kind to me and always so nice to me. And he would talk to me, and we would joke around. And he treated me not like an 8 or 9-year-old kid, but a little adult. And I loved the guy. He was great. But one day, my father, being a jealous father, and always was, would say things that were so head-scratching, and you would wonder why he was saying them. One day, Kent had left the house, and when he did, my dad simply said, he's an effing fag. Now, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't understand it, but what I did understand is that the F word was used predominantly in the house, and where I came from, mother was half of a word. But the other portion of the word I didn't understand, and I didn't ask, but I knew it was derogatory, and I knew it had to do something with Kent's disposition and his personality and betrayal of himself. So a couple days later, Kent had come over, and I had asked my mom, could I go to the mall with Kent? Because Kent had asked, you want to go to the mall? We'll go get an Orange Julius or go get a Famous Dave cookie or whatever it is. And my comment was, absolutely. I'd love to go. And he's like, well, you need to go ask your mom. So, of course, I went and I asked my mother, and my mother said, no, you can't go. It's before dinner. It's a school night, and you can't go to the mall. So I went back, and I told Kent, can you please help me out here? Can you convince my mom? Because she says no, but I really want to go. And as we were walking into the living room, he goes, no, you have to do what your mom says. And unless your mom says you can do that, there's not a chance. And I said, well, that's not fair. And I huffed and I puffed and I stormed down in my room. And when I did, I had said under my breath, when my sister went by, I said, what's wrong? And I said, Kent is an effing fag. Now, my sister, knowing the level amount of soap that would be shoved down my gullet and the beatings that would commence, would definitely interrupt her night where she was old enough to go out on a school night, and decided not to say anything. But the true damage of that comment yet to be discovered. That night I went to sleep, and of course, all was forgotten shortly after that. And I went into bed and I fell asleep, and I don't know, probably around 11:30 at night, the hall light comes on. I want to thank everybody for watching. This is an unreleased episode that I'm struggling with releasing or not because of the weight of the topic. It gets very honest and very direct, and I want to get people's opinions, so I appreciate you sticking by. Thanks, everybody. We are here. We're blackout mode just because we're watching the show, so you don't get confused at why there's two Matts and, all that. Here you go. And someone cracks the door in my room, and of course, I'm immediately up and I'm awake, and it's my dad. And I could see something was wrong, and I knew something was wrong, and as children's intuition develops over the time of growing up and becoming more mature, I recognized that there was a real problem here. And as my dad told me and started the story, I felt the well in my throat that something terrible had happened. And he simply said, Maddie, Kent is dead. And my first reaction, being so sleepily, is, who? And then it hit me and struck me. And I immediately let that welt in my throat turn to tears. And I can't tell you, that was really my first experience with death. We had lost my great-grandmother beforehand, but this was much more palpable, much more real, much more malignant to the soul. And my mother, being my mother, who, this isn't an attempt to just lambast her, but wasn't the very most compassionate person, which is now I understand where I get it. But she walked in and said, yep, Kent's dead. And I could see she'd been crying because this was her good friend. And she goes, and he heard you call him an effing fag. I don't know why she said it. I don't understand why she said it, but I didn't understand a lot of the things she said. Although at that time I felt tremendously horrible. My father explained to me what it meant, and I immediately lamented on using the vernacular and never use the word again until we're talking about it now or when I use it to tell this story, which I have done on occasion. Why the long story? Because despising or using humor to trivialize somebody are two different things. And I will use humor sometimes to challenge the left's ridiculousness. But what I will never do is despise somebody simply because they believe one thing or another. Now, I'm not particularly a huge religious person, even though I believe in God and I've read the Bible numerous times and went to church. I serve the Lord in different ways, the best way I know how. And I fail and I succeed at times, I would like to think, but really I won't know until the accounting of how I've done. But that also holds true for I've marched in pride parades and I've supported the LGBTQ community through hiring events, through having friends and family, from constantly on the show saying that this isn't an argument with pride. I don't care about pride, so to speak, and the rainbow colored flag and all of that, because inclusivity is a lie. It's not inclusive if it's forced. It happens in the workplace, it happens in the military, it happens in everyday society, and none of it is real. It's as prosthetic as some of the things I mentioned earlier. But there was a very large need for this movement at some point, because even though we may disagree as Christians or as just normal everyday people who are heterosexual, you may disagree with the LGBTQ community, and that is your absolute right. You can even make fun of it. You can even use humor to cope with it. You can go ahead and say, I don't appreciate it from a theological point of view. I may not agree with it from a matriarch and patriarchal society point of view. But what you probably shouldn't do, and I can't tell you what to do because you have that right, is despise somebody simply because where they decide to put their penis or where they decide to park their vagina. Simplest way to put it. Now, this is why I bring up the 80s and the 90s, all very real, all very important. I had many friends in the military, out of the military, in college, who were homosexual or lesbian, and I absolutely agree that pride was essential to allow the last form of open prejudice and hatred towards a group of people really remained. And we have been, as I would say, 400 years to move from what happened with African Americans till today, which is progress, which is amazing progress, and anybody who doesn't recognize it is simply crazy, to about 30 years of working towards at least a basis of allowing the LGBTQ community to move towards a place of getting on the path of pursuit to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, it's a very long-winded way. Now, here's the other side. And here's the side where that mocking or dry approach to things might come out with less compassion. And I'm going to stay. I hope people stayed. I'm assuming a lot of people left and said, I can't stand this. This guy's not a Republican. He's not a Christian. I hope you stayed, because I'm going to say this now. To the LGBTQ community, to my hundreds of friends on my friends list, to Facebook, to people I've worked with at Apple or Comcast or even at Bath & Body Works. Trust me, Bath & Body Works was a lot. You might even be questioning me a little bit. Humor. You crossed a frickin' line. And you've been continuing to cross a line that you swore you would never cross. Now, I can say all of those things and be a supporter of pride and LGBTQ people, but not a celebrator, right? I don't have to be a celebrator. I don't have to be someone who goes out there and touts for these experiences and speak from a first-person perspective, because I don't have that perspective, but I can support you in your pursuit to happiness and life and liberty and not celebrate, because honestly, there's no reason for me to celebrate. Going to a pride parade to show support is not celebration. It's me simply supporting. Now, would I go ahead and take my children? Absolutely not. Did I have the opportunity? Yes, and I never would. In fact, that's not their decision to make. It's mine, because I'm the parent. And that is the proverbial line in the sand that has been crossed. Let me explain. There's a video of a guy named Harry Sisson. He's a Gen Z type guy. Now, he would call me a boomer, even though he's, 15 years off. I know it's the boyish good looks, but I'm not a boomer. It doesn't really matter, because generational disrespect is inherent in all generations, and everyone makes fun of the generation before and after, and this is the way it works. Their music always sucks. They don't know how to work. They don't know how to do anything. This is typical, and the younger generation says, we don't know anything. We destroyed the world, and they have to fix it. That's just the hierarchy of generational nuance and happenstance. But the interesting thing is that Harry Sisson has a very detached reality, but a very large following when it comes to Republicans, conservatives, and people like me. And he wants to espouse things that not only are not true, but horribly damaging to society as a whole. Let me show you what I mean.
Let's make something abundantly clear. The Republicans who are attacking President Biden for flying the pride flag outside of the White House are the same Republicans who stayed silent while white supremacist flags were being flown outside of Disney in Florida this weekend. They go after the pride flag, which symbolizes pride in oneself, but stay quiet on the others, which symbolize hate and bigotry. Look, the Republican Party continues to be on the wrong side of history, and that is how we should remember them.
Of course, some people just want to get clicks and likes, and this is how he's doing it. He sensationalizes everything. He used to care only about guns, and now, of course, he's moving into this. I want to be clear. There has been a shift that has taken place, a paradigm shift in the arguments of Christianity oppressing the lesbian and gay community, which is ultimately, let's be honest, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of that. Now, you can sit here and say, never. We never did. Stop it, okay? I grew up in the same households you did. I grew up in the same societies you did. I listened from the pulpit like you did and listened from the pews, and I listened to what was being said. Come on, okay? We were all told there was an eternal damnation waiting for us if we were going to be gay or lesbian. We know that they were sending people to re-education camps, so to speak, when it comes to beating the mentally, fighting and challenging the demons inside of a person who had homosexual tendencies. Enough. I'm not going to sit here and debate this with you. Once again, if this is where you detach from the show, that's fine. We know that happened. And it may not have been a large supporter of Christians, and it certainly weren't the parishioners. I'm not saying that necessarily. Some were. But there was this heavy push that religious churches and the institution of religion found homosexuality to be a threat to the people sitting in the pews, and most importantly, having children and keeping the parishioners handing the basket around, but also oh, Matt, just wait. Like, if you're saying this is the best you've ever heard, you haven't even heard me defend us. So that's coming. So just hang tight. We're almost at the second half. Embracing things that they considered to be sinful and would be a separation from the good word and ultimately an abandonment of God. Now, I can understand all those things. And I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying that during that time, that happened quite a bit. We all know this. But something has changed. We were told that this is about love and acceptance and community. And I agree that a lot of it was. But like the waves of first and second wave feminism, which were essential, the burning of the bras, the saying we want equality, no sexual harassment in the workplace, equal pay, women's rights, the right to vote, suffrage, yes, all of those things. I'm a feminist when it comes to that, and you should be too. Especially if you have a daughter or a mom or a grandma or a sister, and we pretty much have all of that guaranteed in our lives, or at least had at one point. We should all be feminists when it comes to that. However, there was another wave of feminism that was pushed by the Saul Alinsky playbook and misogyny and hatred for men, where equality was never really the goal for this group. It was more of how do we take the power away from the patriarch or the man, and how do we give it to the matriarch or the woman and put the men subservient to the situation versus what we've had to deal with. And that, although may sound nice and lovely, and I was willing to accept for some time, is really a bunch of crap and needs to stop. And that is the third and fourth wave of feminism, that men are the enemy. The same thing has now happened with the LGBTQ community. And although Harry Sasson says that every Republican who says this, or what I've said so far, anything up to the point where I said I'm turning the page just a few minutes ago in the show, makes me a homophobe or a transphobe or a Nazi. Now, every time that there's an injustice in the world, you don't need to go ahead and take credit for it. For instance, January 6th, why Republicans allowed that to be hung over their neck, I never understood. I simply said, that wasn't me. I wasn't there. I don't condone it. I don't support it. End of story. Go give it. Why don't you blame yourself for it? Oh, we're not Trump supporters. Well, I'm a Trump supporter, but that wasn't the definition of what a Trump supporter is. I voted for the other guy. I'm certainly not going to lay my life down for the other guy. The same thing could be said about Nazi flags flying out of Disney. First of all, why do Republicans have to take ownership of this?
They don't.
Of course we condemn. Do we really need to go back? We fought a world war over this, right? We all went to school with skinheads and white supremacist groups. We went to war with the Klan in the 60s and the 70s. Why do we have to pretend that conservatives own this when a very small portion of people who support the Republican movement over the last 50 years are actually racist, Klan members, skinheads, or Nazis? It really is a joke, considering that in the 1960s and 70s, over 600,000 Klan members showed up in Chicago to support the Democratic Party. Let's put it in perspective here. Just because there's people outside of some sort of place, whether it be Disney World or a Kmart, if they even have those anymore, and they're flying Nazi flags, doesn't mean I have to claim these people. Just like I don't have to go to the dog pound and go ahead and claim a sick puppy just because it's there. I can admonish the Nazi flag and Nazism based upon the heritage as a German who is ashamed of his family history, and also my great-grandmother who was a Jew who fled Nazi Germany. I don't need to justify that to Harry Sasson or anyone else because I question why a rainbow flag is hanging in the same horizontal presentation as the American flag. This is the line we're talking about. Christians were told you have to take all forms of religion out of school. You have to take it out of textbooks. You can't force people to say the pledge because it says one nation under God. We have to question Christmas and say happy holidays instead. We can't force beliefs on people. We have to allow them to go ahead and explore this on their own volition. And this is what's right and mandatory in the separation of church and state. And although Christians hem and hawed for decades, finally agreed and said, yes, we understand that we are an amalgamation of people with ideas, and we are going to pull those ideas together versus separating them apart and making people feel ostracized or segmented from something that is supposed to be inclusive, like school, like church, like family gatherings. Okay, fine, we're sold. Took a long time. And we don't want your kids. We don't want to make your kids gay. You can't make kids gay. It's a choice, remember? Or it's not a choice. It's born within you. You were born this way. Remember all those things. And although conservatives, predominantly Republicans and Democrats who didn't support the LGBTQ community in 2012 and before in any way, shape, or form, go listen to some of the sound bites from Clinton, Bill and Hillary, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and there was no support for the homosexual community. But there was a promise made of this isn't going to replace Christianity. This isn't going to be in the schools. We are going to respect that. But what we're asking for is equal rights, just to find our happiness, to love who we want, to marry who we want. And I agree with it 120%. And then the shoe dropped. We started to see things that seemed to be a lot of what Christians were being accused of. American flags coming down all over the place. Pride not being simply a recognition of one's inner relationship with themselves and the people around them, but a vocalized piece of conditioning that you had to stand upon the rooftops and shout out or be cast out and castigated against. If you didn't say the right things, if you don't say the right things, if you don't act the right way, you're shunned. You're canceled. You're called a Nazi, a homophobe, a transphobe, an Islamophobe, a deplorable, a racist, a Nazi, a Trump-tard, a maggot, or a maggot-T as they're calling us now, which is interesting since that's what the Third Reich called Jews, vermin, rats, roaches, maggots. I don't think Christians have a problem with the pride flag. That has been around for a long time and on our product for a long time. And although there may be an inner struggle every time they see it, Christians are pretty good at adapting themselves, considering that they've been persecuted quite a bit throughout history. I think we expected that there would be boundaries that would be respected. But now you see the pride flag flying from Washington, D.C., You're being told that women are no longer women and all you need is lipstick and a dress, and women can have babies who are actually men. That we're told that it's impossible to believe the burning bush and the belly of the whale and Mount Sinai and Noah's Ark, but we're somehow supposed to believe that men can have children and that men can be women and that it's not a choice, even though people will be gay one day and then choose to be straight the next, or be straight most of their life and be gay after. That somehow they're not going after kids because you can't make kids gay because it's actually not a choice. You're born that way. Then why are you marketing to children and using them as poster and billboards if it's who you are and have to be? I think a real conversation is needed. And every single person who I've had in my life who is gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender, I've asked them this question because I really want to know, is it a choice? Or are you born this way? And I will tell you the most honest and most consistent answer that I have is it's a little bit of both. I knew at a young age that I was different. And whether I've applied that to myself in recollection and thinking back in yesteryear, or it really was true, it was a choice for me. And I have dabbled in all sorts of different relationships to find who I am. I think it's okay to accept that. I think it's okay to accept Christians that they don't have to celebrate what you want to celebrate in order to support you or believe that your cause is righteous. But what you're asking for is for you to go against your beliefs. And that's exactly what this is. This movement is based on belief. It's not based on science. It's not based on fact. It's based on you proselytizing that this is now the word. Mm-hmm. And the answer isn't to replace and condemn Christianity, which we're seeing all the time now, that people are bringing up churches and the Catholic Church and mixing it with everyday Christians in the United States, that somehow all the Christian conservatives are pedophiles. This isn't true. Just like transgender people and gays and lesbian people are not pedophiles. But we're not the ones who are trying to sexualize children. You told us that it wasn't right to tell our children that they had to marry a man or marry a woman based upon their sex, and that having children and procreating and all of that was the normal societal way and theological way to create some sort of Shangri-La or higher level being inside this mortal coil. We listened. And although there are people who condemn homosexuality and condemn Christianity, that's not the greater whole. But when I walk down Target, I'm seeing shirts about transgenderism. My daughter and son are taking home test papers that have specific questions about who they identify with or if they're transgender or not. And they're being taught these things in school. When we see that a transgender person in Virginia sexually assaults a girl, the father was beat up, and then she was sexually assaulted again when he went to the Loudoun County School Board and made a stink and was beat up by police for doing so and dragged out, even though they covered it up. We've seen the books that are in the libraries. We don't want to ban books. We want to stop and realize that 100% unfettered access to the internet and YouTube and TikTok and all of these things was something we didn't have. Why should anyone have that? Because there was something that said, you're not old enough. You're not old enough to drink. You're not old enough to vote. You're not old enough to gamble. You're not old enough to drive a car. You're not old enough to buy a gun. You're not old enough to move out. And you're certainly not old enough to talk to me that way. And the day you think you are, let me know and bring your lunch. Remember that conversation with Dad? The LGBT community has a responsibility. They have taken and usurped a very high level of responsibility from parents. And they have to take care of this. They have to stop this going on in their own ranks. And I know from my friends and family who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, whatever, agree that what's happening with children and the targeting of children in schools is not acceptable. It is the opposite side. It's antithetical to the things that the community asked to be stopped when it came to Christian teachings in schools. And now we're going ahead and taking advantage as a transfer of power and doing what you said was so wrong, but simply on the other side of the ideological aisle. I'm calling out both sides here. If you still believe that homosexuality is a sin, you have every right to feel that way. If you believe it's against God's word, you have every right to feel that way. I respect your right to feel that way. But what you don't get to do is go ahead and say that somebody can't live the way their life they want, how they want, without your interference. If you want to express your opinion, you can do it in a respectful manner. And on the other side of that, you need to stop calling people Nazis. You need to stop calling people homophobes and transgender phobes and all of the transphobes and whatever the hell it is. There's so many phobias, but the true thing we're afraid of is we are conversation phobic. We're afraid to talk about this stuff because you're afraid to be canceled. The best thing that I ever did was leave the corporate world. I'm no longer afraid to say what I want. I accept all people, every color, race, creed, sexual disposition. I don't care if you pee sitting up or sitting down. But what I do not want is for you to tell me how to raise my kids. What I don't want is you telling my children that they are white privileged or that they are toxically masculine or that they're going to somehow oppress people because of the teachings that you believe are accurate. We have a responsibility as a communal society to allow people as individuals to express their rights, pursue happiness, and demonstrate the liberty that's given naturally and by God to every single American. And anyone who tries to usurp that right from a collective standpoint, through intimidation, through cancel culture, through making people feel small, insignificant, or bullying, you are exactly what you preached against, and you have become exactly what you say you don't want. And that is something we both share in common, because the LGBTQ community knows what that feels like, and now Christians know what it feels like, and it doesn't feel damn good at all. And the only people who can do something about it are all of us. Folks, that was a long one. Maybe I should have written something down, but those are my thoughts. It's a big topic. I would love to hear what you think below. Once again, let's try to be respectful, but if you feel you need to call someone a Nazi or you need to call somebody this or that, I promise this: if you go insult everyone, you're going to get banned. And otherwise, I'm open for the conversation. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me. Oh, yeah, your patience is incredible. I appreciate you guys doing that. It's a long video, and to sit there, it's like going through a college course. But I really felt it was important to get people's opinion, because I want to put some money behind it. I want people to see it, and I think it has an opportunity to be similar to the story that I had talked about when I went through when I was younger, to influence a lot of people. And I don't know if many, I mean, the funny thing is we had 156 when we started, and we're 157 now. So it's not like that dropped off. But I would like to get your thoughts and opinions. I'm not looking for a suck up session. I just want to get what was missed. What do you think was going to talk to people, and would like to get your thoughts. So, Amy, you go first because I know this is a heavy topic for you. Then we'll go to Olivia, then we'll go to Leroy. And thanks for being patient, y'all.
Great. Well, I'm not sucking up, but that was an excellent show, and I think you pointed out things in such a diplomatic way, and I think I wouldn't change anything about the show. I think it just really points out the fact that, and this might be a broad reach, but I think the amount of social media and screen time, like, we don't have the ability to talk to people anymore. Everything, no one can sit down and have a conversation. No one knows how to do that anymore, and I think that is part of the glaring issue, that we can't discuss our differences. We can't say, well, yeah, my belief system is this. It doesn't mean I don't like you or care about you or want something bad to happen to you. I don't think that's most anyone in the world, Christian or not. I think that we can all mostly get along and learn to live together. But it is about our kids at this point. And again, they promise to not come after our kids, but everything is targeted at our children. And I truly believe the schools, I did not know that about your school. Holy cannoli, that's terrifying to hear. And, you know, my kids get taught stuff in school that not everyone would agree with or think that my kids should be taught, but I'm okay with it. And it's also backed up by how we live our lives at home. We teach our kids values and to be kids, and their job is to do good in school and then have fun. You know, this is not something they don't need to question anything. My daughter has been begging me for a rainbow flag for years. For the front yard, and I'm like, no, we're not going to get one. Sorry. Look at the other people who have them. But, you know, because she has no idea. She just loves rainbows. She's 6, you know, and that's what I want for her. I want her to be 6, and I want her to love all the rainbow flags that we get to see when we see them. And if she doesn't have any idea what that means or why someone would choose to put that at their house, she just thinks everyone likes rainbows and unicorns as much as her. And I'm okay with that. You know, she needs to live in a bubble at this point. And I don't care if people tell me my kids are in a bubble. Yes, I will keep them in a bubble as long as I can. They will learn about the real world one day. And I'm trying to protect them as much as I can right now.
It's fast enough for everybody. I mean, it's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Awesome, Amy. I appreciate the honest feedback. And, you know, I know what you're going through here. I mean, everyone's like, well, just take them out of public schools. Yeah, it's really easy to say. Yeah, it's really easy to say. When you find me $75,000 a year, let me know. Because not only am I going to have to replace Olivia's job, we're going to have to, it's expensive. It's not easy. Olivia, go ahead.
So I agree. That was a very, very good show. You're always well-spoken, and you always have a way of taking a heavy topic and adding a personal spin to it and putting it in layman's terms so the average everyday person can understand it and relate to it. So I think that's great that you can do that.
Appreciate it.
Today, I think going off of Amy, everyone is kind of a keyboard hero in their own right. And they've got the mentality of, I can say whatever I want online, I can do whatever I want, and nothing can hurt me, nothing can come back to me. I'm going to do it. And doesn't matter who I hurt in the process because I don't know them personally.
Right.
They're a complete stranger to me. They're digital ones and zeros. I don't know their story. I don't know who they are. So I don't care if I call them names or hurt them or whatnot. Unfortunately, I think nowadays people are taking that into their personal lives, and they're being those keyboard heroes with people they know. And they don't know how to differentiate themselves between who they're talking to on the internet and who they're actually talking to face to face. And I think it's really dividing us as a people and as a society. And honestly, we all need to take a step back from the internet and from social media and start getting out there and being more social physically with people in our community and our friends and our family, and stop being besties with someone who lives across the world who you have absolutely no idea, but they're, you know, just their name on can't even think of the name, whatever they go by on
Avatar,
internet,
yeah.
avatar, whatever, as opposed to who they actually are as a person. So we just need to get out there and be more social, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. You know, I couldn't go back to the corporate world. I would get fired the first day. Like, I'm well aware that I no longer have a filter. I just don't. It's amazing how emancipating it is to be able to say what you want and not be afraid of being canceled. Because I'm like, please cancel me, please. I'll get an extra 1 million viewers. I'm waiting for someone to cancel me. Just someone take pity on me and cancel me. I've got stalkers. I just need someone to cancel me. So what can I say to make that happen? Leroy, go ahead.
Wow, that was okay. So first of all, that was a fantastic video. The explanation.
You wrote a lot.
I was taking notes as I go. First of all, Harry Sisson, did I pronounce that right?
Pisson.
Clearly does not know what the true differences are between the left and the right.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that the Nazi flag, the nationalized socialist flag, was a party that stood for bigger government and more government intervention.
Correct.
Okay, which is what today's Democrat Party wants. Whereas the Republican, in contrast, they advocate for a smaller government system, and so there's a lot of comparisons that can be drawn there, and it that alone makes that video like, why does the right need to claim that? Because you looked it up on Google, and that's what Google says, is that the Nazi Party was a right-leaning party, because that's not true.
Right.
So that's point number one. Point number two,
or just because you don't say anything, automatically it's assigned to you. So in an everyday society, all the things that are poorly expressed or evil are immediately, if you don't shun them, they're assigned to your party. So I guess the Republicans really are free and clear of the amount of murders that happen in Chicago and not responsible in any way, shape, or form, right? I mean, we could play this game all day. Just because you choose not to address something doesn't mean you own the ramifications of whatever it produces. It's ridiculous.
Right.
What a stupid fucking notion.
It was a terrible comment from him. The other thing was that something you had mentioned about church, church specifically in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s, where you would have, during the homily, a priest would be up there in the early 80s and would be speaking against what we consider to be today to be the LGBTQ, community. A priest back in the early 80s would have been, kind of up on his podium, kind of speaking against it in a lot of ways. I'd heard it. But the thing is, he wasn't even alive then. That kid is even 20 yet? So there's no way he could have even known that. What he is learning is just everything that he's gotten off of social media, which is to say he never really experienced what it was like to kind of go through that.
Before you go to the next topic, we've got a couple comments. Larry Cox, who sounds very familiar, the name, but says, while Democrats are working hard for the American people, congratulations on being extremely non-specific, but then being very specific in your tropes against Republicans, that it's always what Democrats do. Working very hard. What are you, Joe Biden? Sounds like you write his speeches. The Republicans are speaking about ending Social Security. No, they're not.
No,
Public
they're not.
schools. No, they're not. Veterans benefits. No, they're not. And Medicare. No, they're not. Thank you so
None
much
of that is true.
for saying every false possible thing you could. Public schools, we're asking for vouchers. We're asking for people who don't want to participate in public schools. And the reason why is the Democrats have been fighting this since LBJ is you don't want to go ahead and do that because you know it'll destroy public schools, and admit that your complete failure of unions in public schools is one of the worst investments and creations by Democrats in society. It has been a complete waste of money. And the only thing worse than that happens to be Social Security and welfare, which has been losing money and you've been paying out of taxpayer pockets since 2010. It's no longer an entitlement program. It's being funded by American taxpayers since you've been selling bonds to go ahead and be reimbursed by taxpayer dollars. So both programs are bankrupt. They're no longer going to take care of society. And what we're asking for is to look at it, to have a conversation about it, not to cancel it. Veterans benefits. The VA is the third largest government bureaucratic agency in the U.S. government. It is going to be worth $500 billion by 2030. It is going to be $750 billion by 2040. The only thing about that is that the United States government, as far as veterans, is only going to increase by 3%, the lowest increase in 60 years of veterans leaving the military and going to the civilian sector. It does not justify a bloated budget. You were just increased over $240 million during 2017 and 2020 with COVID, and that was in the pork barrel bill that you went ahead and pushed through, totaling $9.5 trillion under Trump and Biden. So thanks so very much for fucking playing. I recognize your name, but you've just been put to bed. If you got anything else, I'll go ahead and address that too. Leroy, go ahead and continue.
All right. Point number 3,
and you're full of shit.
Which is that that kid, Harry, he operates off of this premise that there is victimhood, clearly still alive, still a thing, a big thing in terms of today's society, which I would agree with, but more specifically with regard to the Democrat Party. In other words, victimhood for him has to exist so that the left has someone to rise against, which would be anybody on the right. If he doesn't have that, if there is no victimhood, if there is no segregation, then who is he fighting against?
Right.
And so it's the left quite often that has to separate people out. It's the left that has to put people in boxes. And so we end up in this era, something that you had mentioned, when we're talking about schools, we end up in this situation where we talk about what schools are teaching in terms of putting people in those boxes. Why are schools teaching our kids about the LGBTQ community? Look, stop teaching the kids what lesbian or gay or any of that is. If, to your point, they have no choice in the matter, then they will let you know after they've hit puberty. We don't need to teach it before, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if someone really is lesbian, gay, whatever, they're going to tell you. But we don't have to bring that up in 3rd and 4th grade. We don't have to leave that part of their childhood alone. Let the parents do that part of their job, right? It's their responsibility.
Yeah. Real quick, Larry Cox is back with another random thought because he couldn't address the other things that I did and counteract any of my points. So Larry, you're a bore. I already know where this is going. Now I'm going to go ahead and put to bed your comments in regards to the history of racism, and 43% Republicans do not support the teaching of the history of racism. Please explain to me, would you be okay with the history of Nazism being taught in school and the teachings of Nazism? Is that okay? Would you like to learn about socialized medicine? Would you like to learn about eugenics from the Nazis? Would you like this preached to your children, or would you like them to understand that the Nazi Party was single-handedly one of the most destructive forces ever to monasticize from a large superpower against a people who had already been persecuted for 2,000 years, and have them understand what the Jews went through versus the teachings of Nazism? Well, the 1619 Project is a revisionist history. Now, I can agree also that U.S. history and American history has been whitewashed, and there is plenty of black history that needs to be brought in. Nobody's arguing that. What you're talking about is replacing modern history and using something called the 1619 Project, and also which was used by the daughter of the Confederacy, which is a revisionist history, which is not true.
Right.
And we are against that. Why? Because we've read a fucking book. Maybe what we should do is stop teaching about racism and white privilege and sexism, because that's not where it's learned. It's an exponential learning that's usually seen by moms and dads and in homes and on TV shows where discussion happens around the dinner table, not in a place that you're supposed to be teaching math and science and English and writing and arithmetic and all those things that make it better for people to be able to understand the basic concepts of knowledge and critical thinking, but not necessarily what to do with their lives. It's not the school's job. So when you say they don't want to have the teaching of history of racism, you're right. I want to actually learn about the Buffalo Soldiers. I want to learn about the Tuskegee Airmen. I want to learn about the things that actually happened, not the things of why it happened or what was taught during those times or what people believed, because that is a stigma. And when you look at racism and prejudice and sexism, it's a taught behavior because children don't come out thinking like that. They learn it in institutions like public fucking schools that have initiatives and ideological entrenchment who want to indoctrinate children to believe what they believe and not their parents. You have it backwards. You can go ahead and cherry pick all the polls you want. I've read all the polls. I know all your talking points. You're a liberal who is so entrenched that you refuse to open up your eyes that maybe possibly the one thing we have in common is more important than our political ideology, that I'm a father, that maybe you're a father, and that we care about our children. We just see completely differently and not eye to eye on how to raise them. That is a conversation we can have. This other bullshit is a complete fucking distraction. Grow up.
Where
Go ahead, Leroy.
he has another comment in there that I want to address real quick. And it just says victimhood equals Trump. It's funny because everyone who always comes from the left has to attack Trump and never his policies.
That's right.
And if you really wanted to examine history, Larry, if you really wanted to examine history, you would acknowledge that it was the Republicans who wrote and passed the 13th Amendment that ended slavery. You would acknowledge that most Democrats voted against it. You would acknowledge that the Republicans wrote and passed the 14th Amendment and that no Democrats voted for it. You would acknowledge the fact that the Republicans wrote and passed the 15th Amendment. And again, no Democrats voted for it. Where are you on those, Larry? Do you really want to own that? Do you really want to own that part of your party's history? Because you
who put the Japanese in internment camps, Leroy? Who put George Takei? You know George Takei, who bashes Republicans. Who put his mommy and daddy in internment camps? Who dropped a nuke on his family? I'm wondering. 2 times, not just once. Interesting. Who voted against civil rights? Who has, out of the top 50 cities, most violent in America, 37 of them are democratically ran? Explain to me that. And how come they're all black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods? If you guys are all about helping the black people and rising up, let's rise up. Let's rise up. Let's woke. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. If that's you, give me some examples of what the Democratic Party has done for minorities. You go first.
But wait, I mean, wasn't the KKK founded in opposition to the Republican Party, Matthew?
Oh, no,
isn't that true?
I don't know. I think
I
that's
read
a lie.
that somewhere.
I think the party of Lincoln did that. I think it was Abraham. Well, wait, that doesn't make sense. Well, what about the Great Party switch that happened in 1870 and 1930, but then it switched again during the Civil Rights Movement? Yeah, and then they didn't vote for a Republican for 20 years. Talk about a slow-moving generational process, huh? It couldn't be that the southern states actually decided to go ahead and move forward, even though they were behind in economy and overall education and industry, because the North went ahead and took it for all themselves in the original 13 colonies. But that couldn't have possibly been why the South was behind the times and didn't have the ability to have industry and relied on slavery. But hey, what do we know? Maybe it took a little longer for them to wake up and get woke.
Pretty sure Larry's going to go home and really think about that one.
He's going to jerk off to the JCPenney catalog because that's all he's got. Yeah. All right.
Pretty much.
Amy, final 30. We're going to go to 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Amy, go. Knock it out.
God, it was such
Olivia wants to go.
No. Go. Oh, because of
No. I'm saying we're on the clock because the last 4 minutes of the game are on and I wanted to watch it with you.
Okay, 30 seconds. Go, Amy. Go. 30 seconds.
Loved all the topics tonight. I think we had a great variety of different topics, and I don't know, it's a good show. And I hope that we keep this conversation going like this and keep it open, and hopefully we can share. I think you should share the heck out of that. That was a great show.
Yeah, I will. It's been a while since we've been together, and I know this went long tonight, but darn it, I needed a good show, and it felt really good to have y'all here. Livy, 30 seconds.
Yep, I thought it was a great show, except for picking on me, Leroy, and Matthew.
I didn't do anything.
Mean.
It was Leroy.
So mean. Anyway, it's all good to have you here. Love you all.
For a second. 30 seconds, Leroy.
Great show. I absolutely think that you should publish that. I love the fact that we always tend to come back to bringing up historical fact over Democrat built fiction. Stay the hell away from the kids. And yeah, great show. Love it. Boom.
I know who Larry Cox is. I've went round and round with him on Facebook before. But here's the thing. You notice how you didn't get banned? And because even though you're a turd, you're not disrespectful. So until that happens, you stick. I don't even mind disrespect, but it's when the Nazi and all that shit comes, then you get banned. But you can say what you want. You can have an opinion. But I just wish you had the courage to pick up the phone and call as you pretend to be knowledgeable. You didn't argue with one of my points. Do you know how frustrating that is? It's like being a pitcher and you're afraid to get up and take a swing and because you know you're going to strike out. That's how you get better. So stop being scared. Come on my show. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. By the way, you can go pick up some hats, some shirts, some coffee. Stop by thedumbshow.com. You get 10% off. Use code DUM10, DUM10 at thedumbshow.com. Pick up a shirt, hat, whatever. You can also join on your phone. Right down in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little blue teal box. Click on that. Subscribe for $1.99. You get 15% off. When will you be back on? Larry, I'm always on. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Come on whenever you think you're ready. Just bring your lunch, buddy. You're going to need it. Dude, just don't bring your talking points because you're going to get trashed. Bring an opinion that makes sense, okay? Right. But if you throw talking points at me, I'm going to rock you. I'm just going to rock you, bud. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to throw you a 96-mile-an-hour breaking ball that's going to make you shit your pants. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow with a recorded show. I'm going to try to get this one cut and get it up first thing in the morning. Amy, Leroy, Olivia, love you guys. Thanks so much for being here. We are outie.
Great show. Thank you for having me on. Love the dummies. Everyone take care.
96-mile-an-hour curveball, buddy. Just watch it. It's coming, Larry. You'll be there. Okay, you be there. You be there with bells on. You be there. You be a naughty boy. I'll spank you and put you to bed. Good night.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call